Aero-News Network's coverage of the 65th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from New Orleans, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Aviation's #1 safety equipment manufacturer. New ELTs and safety products that activate life-saving rescues across the world. ELTs and safety products for every type of aircraft. General aviation, business jet, rotorcraft, commercial aircraft. Easy installation, affordable pricing, safety and reliability. Visit www.artex.com to view our selection of ELTs and safety products today. Artex, your best last chance.
At Diamond Aircraft, innovation is in our DNA. Whether you're taking to the skies for training or business travel, every aircraft in Diamond's lineup features innovative technology, an industry-leading safety record, superior performance and efficiency, and a comfortable flying experience. No other company has pioneered as many aviation firsts, achieved more milestones, or received the same amount of industry praise as Diamond. Discover why Diamond Aircraft is one of the most trusted manufacturers in aviation at diamondaircraft.com.
Vantage is Avidyne's family of all-new flight display systems for retrofit and forward-fit applications. Initial certification will be Vantage 12, retrofit glass for legacy Cirrus aircraft. Vantage 12 brings advanced capabilities and adds new life to Cirrus aircraft, including large 12-inch diagonal hybrid touchscreen displays, 3D synthetic vision, and split-screen capabilities. Additional Vantage programs will be announced in the future.
Alrighty folks, believe it or not, we didn't learn a darn thing over the last 14 years. We're back to do this again. We are at the 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show, this time in New Orleans, and we've been having a great old time. My wife and I went out and did Bourbon Street, watched all the spring breakers show us why we never want to be young again. But for the rest of the week, it's been nothing but great avionics people, a lot of trade and industry insight, for lack of a better way to put it. And more important, yesterday's NPI produced 29 companies with lots of good info that speak well for the future of the industry, even after a couple of years of not so good a time. Let me introduce Mike Adamson, Grand Poobah of AEA, the new title, the proper, obviously, President and CEO. Mike, the first question has to be is, how is the AEA community? Are we healthy? Are we getting healthier? Or are we just wasting our time?
No, we're healthy. We're healthy. We're getting healthier too. I think you put it into perspective with the last couple of years. It's been quite a ride for sure. For us as an association and for all of our members, our shops and our manufacturers. So based on the last 2 years, we're getting healthier, but we're healthy. It's strong here. Business is good. We have our challenges we'll talk about, but good momentum going into what feels like normal again.
one of the things I want to bring up, and I'm actually going to lead in with this if you don't mind. We get a lot of calls at Aero-News. Well, I want to be a pilot, I want to do this, I want to do that. And there are people out there who are looking to go back to work, have been booted out of regular jobs and so forth, for which there was not a whole lot of training. But now there's opportunities to go out and build a life for themselves. And one of the things we recommend is maintenance technician or avionics technician, because one, it's not a long period of training time overall. And let's face it, the money's good, the lifestyle's great, because that stuff is done on schedule and so forth. What advice, what do you have to say to people who are looking at this as a potential career or a life change for that matter?
Excellent question on the life change piece, because we do training at our headquarters, and we get the career changer that maybe comes from another technical field, engineering, that sort of thing, that brings a natural ability or a skill set that fits well with what we do. So we focus on that. For the interested individual that's maybe a little bit younger, coming out of college, coming out of high school, anybody that has any interest in computers, technology, this is the field for you, because you combine cool computers with cool airplanes. There's honestly no better career field to get into. It's exciting. There's new stuff coming out every year. We're we kind of call ourselves the consumer electronics show for aircraft, and that's where all the neat stuff's launched, and we feel like that happens here. So ultimately, you'll find your way to this show. You'll get to be a part of this enormous event where everybody in the industry meets, and we're all family, as you know. So
that's one of the things I've noticed about AEA. I mean, let's face it, we've got 3 trade shows in a row, but this is the one we really look forward to because of the fact that these are people we know.
That's right.
There's a lot of relationships here, a lot of almost familial relationships, and it's amazing how tight this community is.
Yeah. It's I've been a part of it for 22 plus years myself, so it's family to me for sure. But we're a small slice of the aviation pie, but we're big in heart. And last year when we did our show in June, we didn't get our international attendees, and we've got some of them back this year, which we're thrilled to see. And that's when you really feel the reach of this organization and that family feel, because it's been 2 or 3 years since we've seen some of them, and it's a family reunion. So we're just ecstatic to have them back and be a part of it.
And Trig brought the Scotch bottle, so we're ready. We're ready to go.
They know how to do it.
There you go. What are the major challenges this industry is going to be facing in a transition from pandemic woes and post-pandemic into an uncertain economy and a regulatory environment which is seeing an awful lot of change, especially with the FAA. Now you see it, now you don't, administrators.
Right. Yeah.
Man, you got your work cut out for you.
We do. It's one thing to deal with that, pre-pandemic. It's a moving target. They're progressing a little better than they did in years past, and we've got a fantastic relationship, and we're well educated in that regard with our staff and the work that Rick does. But the challenges are many, and it goes beyond regulations. It's emerging technologies, emerging markets with different types of aircraft crowding the airspace. And then, I don't think we can go this time slot without talking about supply chain issues and the human resource issue, right?
Beat me to the question, did you?
Yeah. It's
You're
inevitable.
No fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the climate, and then you get through all of that, and you're talking about some conflict in Europe that's impacting a pretty good sized market for folks that dealt in those regions, aircraft, avionics, and the like. So there's all kinds of pressures.
That brings up an interesting question. This market seems ready to go. The interesting thing about the pandemic is that it did present opportunities for airplanes and crews and companies that were down to go out and get a panel done, get this done, that done, and that was one thing. Right. Not so much apparently overseas, but some. What is the difference right now in the potential recovery and going forward modes for both the international as well as the national market?
I mean, it comes down to supply chain, because as you attend all the shows as well, and we see it, the money's out there.
Yeah.
There is money on the sidelines ready to invest in these airplanes. and the exchange of the market for airplanes being bought and sold presents a really good opportunity for our shops as well. So the money's out there. Supply chain's an issue. Don't know that that's a near-term fix. We could be through the end of the year on that. What we're seeing from that, though, the inflationary pressures on the price of these products and what it costs to just get these components in these boxes is driving prices for the manufacturers. But
well, pricing overall is insane right now. Have you watched the used aircraft market, GA?
Exactly.
I mean, when you're getting $50,000 for a tired 150,
right.
And God help you when you get into the light twins or the light turbines, wow.
Yeah.
It's gone up.
Scarcity drives those prices, right? And so we're going to see that in our used avionics space, our new avionics space. We've got manufacturers that are having to focus on products that have been on the shelf for years, that they've already poured all their R&D money into, having to go back and re-engineer those products just to get new components in them so they can ship them. So that's impacting the future new product development. And I think we'll see that over the course of the next year. So they're innovative, as you know. I mean, every time we come here, it's something new. And they'll do a great job with it, but they are challenged, and it's putting some strains on our shops. Unfortunately, the shops are, have backlogs that go for miles, and if they had the qualified people and some of the components, they'd be having their best years.
Well, we're kind of all scared that once the 2020 mandate was done, that we were going to be twiddling our thumbs for a long time, and we're just sitting there going, okay, but I'm busy till December of 23.
I remember that question. What happens after the mandate?
Yeah.
And autopilots were the hot thing, still are, and there's no concern about post-mandate. It's concern about post-pandemic now.
Have you had a chance at all to get briefed with the new guidance at FAA? The new administrator or acting administrator for the time being?
Yesterday, as the news came out, I was sharing information with Rick, and we do have some familiarity. I don't personally, but Rick does, and so we'll be preparing for that and bracing ourselves for that new leadership. But like anything, we've got a great relationship with the administration through all levels, and so that'll carry through to that as well. I am sorry to see Mr. Dixon go. As we all talked about, he was a great leader for the organization, and understand why he's going, and we'll welcome the new one in and get to work.
Well, it's obvious that Steve Dixon knew how aviation worked, and that is irreplaceable in many cases. So we shall see how the next generation of leadership, whether they be acting in temporary or wind up being acting in long-term, as some of the past case scenarios have been, and see what happens to it from there on out. The overall attitude of the industry remains positive, and that's great. But what is it going to take at this point, especially with the burgeoning unmanned, or I should say uncrewed now, and autonomous airframes that are coming out? Are we really prepared to embrace that?
Well, from a technology standpoint, from an eagerness for a new market standpoint, we're ready to embrace anything. Right? But crowded skies, interference with, the traditional airplane. I think there's going to be concerns there. I think the technology will get us to that point, but I understand the careful approach. I do, and I think it's something that will enable our innovators here to create products that keep everybody safe, and it's just going to be more work for our integrators. So I'm excited about that. But.
Well, the energy behind that part of the community is huge. Just as important, the money is bigger, greater. The biggest question is what is going to be the breakthrough that makes it practical. And we're seeing some signs of where that might come from, but no actual knowledge as to when that will actually take place. We're seeing, we're going to be taking, air taxi passengers in 2025, and we're kind of going, maybe, see you then. But there seems to be tremendous opportunities now with certain aspects of the community, especially as we start doing package delivery and the like. So I would imagine that's got to be an area that you folks are looking at with great interest.
Of course, we know our manufacturers are involved in the development of the cockpits for those future aircraft. And I think you're going to see the logical path would be something on the EMS side, something on the package delivery, certainly in the uncrewed space, right? Before you start putting people on uncrewed airplanes, I think you've got to take baby steps. And even if those timelines are ambitious, they're going to happen in the near future. And so you've got to pay attention to it and be ready for it. We look forward to it as an opportunity to really turn on the next generation to the career fields that are exciting now with traditional aircraft, right, that they're used to seeing. But I think it'll help us tremendously. So it can't come soon enough, but I understand the process with the regulations and just the market being ready. And the infrastructure as well. That's a whole other piece of it.
Slight segue to something I wanted to bring up here real quick. The job that you folks do is immense, and the natural assumption is you've got to have 200, 250 people backing you up at AEA headquarters. Describe the organization a little bit. I think people will be stunned by what you do with what you have and how effective the organization has been. I
appreciate that question because I could spend another half an hour talking about my tremendous staff. We're a staff of 9. So we have 7 in our headquarters facility in Kansas City. It's Lee Summit, a suburb of Kansas City, and we have 2 remote. And that's the extent of it. We do have some folks that we use on council and contract for different things from regulatory and legal, but the official staff is 9. And it's been that way for a while. And they put on this tremendous show and attend other shows, and then of course do our series in the fall with all of our different Connect meetings. And they're just, they're all experienced, knowledgeable, hardworking, wear many hats, just like every trade association has. I'm just so proud of our team to pull this off with the challenges we've faced in the last 3 years. It's unbelievable, and you're right. It's something not a lot of people know or understand. We've got a tremendous group of volunteers that I think come pretty excited to be a part of the show. I wonder when they leave every year if they'll.
They drag themselves.
Yeah, exactly. They're voluntold to do it, but just tremendous help from everybody that's part of it. And yeah, I do agree. We make this look like it's put on by a lot bigger organization.
You really do. I mean, you know us and how we are with our opinions. If we didn't think kindly or highly of you, we would say so, and you'd be tossing me out. This has happened once or twice. But seriously, you've been incredibly effective, not just based on the size of this or that or whatever, but the way you have worked with the industry, the way you have set up partnerships with aspect of the industry, and then on top of that, the way you've worked out leadership changes between your board, your advisory, some of your training people, and so forth, is really a model on how it should be done.
Well, thank you.
So the big question is, can you teach that to the rest of the industry until we get our act together?
Well,
good grief.
Look, we attend other shows and everybody does a great job. There's not one we don't go to where we learn something. There's shows that are much larger in size and do things on a scale that we probably couldn't do. We just want to make sure that the people that spend the money to come here take a week or so away from their business, which could be substantial for that small business, that it provides value to them. And so we're going to continue to do it. I don't know that there's any secret to it other than just hard work and great deal of customer service.
Interesting. Of this transition that we've taken from, we were all hard charging a couple of years ago. I remember it was only a couple of weeks before the AEA convention that was planned at the time for Nashville. And then, the bottom dropped out from everything, but things were really pumping. We had strong economy, strong leadership, so to speak, at least in the business aspect of things, tweets notwithstanding. And things seemed to be really quite remarkable at the time. We were running a real boom. Now we've gotten through all this. What are the lessons that this industry needs to learn from such a sudden shift in fortunes? And how does that apply to what we need to do from here on out?
Yeah, that's a really good one, Jim. There's many, right? I think, I think preparing yourself for those, financially preparing yourself for those moments, having your reserves, having your team ready for switching, pivoting, going digital, going virtual, which we're all good at now, right? We've honed those skills, but being ready at a moment's notice to reinvent yourself and to be flexible with that concept. We were hard charging. We were going to have a record show in Nashville, and that rug got pulled out from under us.
It hurt.
Yeah, and we're taking a look at ourselves. And are we in the show business anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a real question, and I'm sure these places that host those events are thinking the same thing, and they took it really, really hard for a couple of years. We did a pivot to virtual, and that seemed to work. We moved some things online, and our members responded well to that. But this industry, in particular, not show business, but aviation, thrives on the personal touch. We are human interaction types, and if we don't have a way to meet and convene and do face-to-face like this, we've got real issues, I think. I'm not sure that we'll face anything worse than we just did, so I think we'll be ready for it, but remember what we did and be prepared for it, because it could happen very easily in the future.
What technologies right now within the avionics community are the hotspots? What's looking to be particularly promising? You mentioned before autopilots are driving an awful lot of interest, and I'm seeing some interesting trending, especially with Gogo completing a 5G network that doesn't hurt anybody or anything in aviation and so forth and so on. What are the things that are exciting you right now, or at least getting your attention?
Yeah, Gogo will appreciate you saying that, by the way, clearing that air.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's connectivity is obvious. That's cutting edge. It's unbelievable what goes on in the cockpit and the demand that passenger has and that VIP has for data. It's unreal. I think there's a lot there. Go back to the cockpit. We talked about being the group that powers safer and more efficient flight. Everything's focused on that. The way these companies can innovate and produce things that we can't even fathom, right? We talked about it last time, I think, was some of the spin-offs from these cockpit workload management technologies. I think you'll see that federate in the cockpit. It'll be interesting to see how that takes hold. There's some leaders in that space, as you know, and I'm sure they have more up their sleeve, but I think those...
And a whole lot of wannabes.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that imitation is the sincerest form, right? And and I think that's how some of these startup companies incubate, even within our space. They chase somebody that's got a technology, and they maybe find a different way to do it, a different market, and it grows up from there. The sky's the limit. AI, there's all kinds of things that we could be seeing as an outcome of uncrewed systems and advanced air mobility as well.
It's the only thing we can guess at on things like that is it's going to be interesting. That's it.
Always is.
Because God knows where it goes from there. The other area to look, there are some announcements coming up that are going to be making a lot of hay about electronic control systems for next generation power plants. And we're getting to a point now where we control every aspect, or the computer and the management system and panel can control every aspect of the engine and prop. This is what, of course, makes auto-land capability a given now, as well as other capabilities up and down the line. But it seems to me now that with that control, we've got AI looking at how we monitor the condition, and oh yeah, you've got an impending engine problem or something like that. Where's the excitement in that area coming from? Who are the players there?
Well, the excitement is the electronics community is getting more of the airplane, right? I mean,
we're taking over, in other words.
I mean,
yeah.
it's
we're about to have our HAL moment. Just
I mean,
Dave, close the pod bay doors.
It's truly, because the things that were mechanical before have a wire attached to them now, and have some control to it or some indication to it that absolutely the folks on this floor are going to be managing and servicing and installing. That's truly exciting. It's just the innovation in these airplanes, the introduction of different propulsion systems are absolutely going to cross over into our space. And we, as a board, we talked about how we can embrace that organizationally. Do we have all those players in our space now? Do we know who all those people are? And can we put our arms around them? And you're going to see us do that as this evolves.
Well, that gets into another segue here, because you mentioned all the training that you're doing at AEA HQ. How hard is it keeping up with the rapid upgrade in technologies? I assume that's one of the things. I mean, I know you're doing a lot of basics and so forth, and that's great, but there has to be this tremendous need for being able to deal with the next generation systems as they change almost on a daily basis.
Right. You know, and the difficult part with that is the folks that are engineering it aren't the type that are going to turn right around and teach a class on it.
Oops.
Right. So you're to stay on this cutting edge, you're always going to trail it because of that. The people that are engineering it aren't going to turn around and develop an entire curriculum for everybody to learn it. So we'll be a little bit behind on that, but it's something we're constantly looking at with our classroom training at the office, the headquarters, and even when we come to these shows is what can we bring to them that they haven't seen before? And finding the right people to teach that to somebody else that's willing to share their knowledge is a challenge. But it will produce exciting training, and it's going to be required. It's going to be mandatory for these folks to come in and work on these systems.
How do you keep up with that, though? Holy smokes.
I come to this show and I pay close attention. I walk around and I learn every day. But yeah, I mean, you have to. You got to talk to the different OEMs and see what they're working on, and then try and identify people that can help us build those curriculums. Yeah.
Interesting. If you were able to send a wish list right now to the upcoming acting FAA administrator and his assistants and so forth, what's the wish list look like from AEA for the FAA of today?
That's a really good one. You should be asking Rick that.
Well, wait till I get to the gotcha questions, man.
Yeah.
They're coming.
His wish list might be different than mine. Yeah. I think to some degree, maintain the level of communication that you currently have with the folks in leadership at the positions we work with. Like I said, we have an outstanding relationship, so we want to continue that. We don't need wholesale changes. The industry is always going to want more. We know that. You have to ask for that and continue to push them to stay on the cutting edge of technologies. But I think allowing us to progress with the folks that we've developed these relationships with, I think will be key, because it is instrumental in all the things that we get to do. There are struggles individually with different organizations, different members at shops, manufacturers, whatnot. We can address those without too much issue. If we can maintain that, we'll be okay. Rick will expand on his wish list for sure.
And expand,
he can get more granular on that, and I trust him with that. But I think it really does come down to this collaborative relationship, and that's been key to. I think it used to be so focused on enforcement, and now it's focused on partnership and development. And we both know we're entering spaces that we haven't been before, and so working together is key.
We had some conversations with our friends at SpaceX recently, and they are just combing the world for talent. But the biggest thing that they're talking to people about is that people are really not training for the future right now. It's just not enough. So how does AEA train for a future that also includes aircraft and spacecraft and things that we think are going to be pivotal in the next 4 or 5 years? We've got a close relationship with the SpaceX folks and some of the Blue Origin folks, and if they do half the stuff they get to do, those industries are going to be massive. I mean, there are already hundreds of thousands of people involved, and it's going to get a whole lot bigger.
Right.
You guys ready for space?
Of course we are. We're trying to find people to do the work today, so it's an absolute challenge. Introducing aerospace at an earlier age, which everybody's doing. There's efforts from all the organizations, and really strong efforts to do that. We've got to get better at that ourselves, and will. But getting it into the classroom at a younger age, getting them turned on to the possibilities. Space was a thing when I was younger, and for the last 20, 30 years, hasn't been so much of a thing. This privatized, SpaceX has really reinvigorated it, in my opinion. Yeah. And then, of course, with the space travel in the last year or so, I think turned a lot of people onto it. with that, we'll see it reinvigorate in the classroom for sure, and hopefully that will align with the availability of training that will get them ready. But they're just going to have a license to learn, because when you come into this industry and it's this complex and this fascinating, you're still going to have a lot of training and education to really be an efficient technician.
In the 5 minutes we have remaining before you become a pumpkin here, what does the business aviation community and general aviation community need to know about what you do here that they don't really know? What message do you have to them, to the folks who are actually operating the equipment and frankly trusting their buns to, Joe Avionics Tech and Joe Avionics Manufacturer?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. We tried to make that part of our opening yesterday with our video and my introduction. This community, the innovators and the integrators, the installers, the manufacturers, are the most tireless in their training and pursuit of knowledge. This show is about that. There's a trade show floor, which is great, where they get to see all the new products. The rest of it is surrounded by training classes, and they consume it like no other industry I've ever seen. And it's paramount. To work on an airplane, you have to be, per the FAA, capable of performing your assigned task. How do you demonstrate that? By training. And so they come here and get that. And it's not just to check a box. Some industries, the CEUs are check a box. That's not the case here. No. They're hungry for knowledge. It makes them more efficient, creates more profit, makes them safer. This network of professionals is truly the most trained, I think, of any industry I could compare them to. And we're really proud of that, especially to be a big part of it.
Outstanding. Good to hear. If you had advice for your members overall about the next 12, 24 months, and seeing that through based on what you've seen the last few days, what's come up to this point, some of the most recent announcements in the political scene and everything else, what does AEA and the boss have to say to them about their future?
Persevere. Persevere. We've seen challenges like we've never seen. We've had 9/11. We've had 08/09 with the housing market and the banks. Here we are with a different challenge, and we've persevered. We're essential, as we were described, and we had one of our best years because of it. So now we're facing supply issues, we're facing workforce issues, but as I said in the opening, this is a resilient industry, and we're creative, and we'll find ways through the next year, and they'll find ways to do business. The association will be there to help them, and if we persevere, we'll be in good shape. As I said, there's plenty of money on the sidelines ready to upgrade aircraft, and we'll take advantage of that when the parts align with the work. We'll be in good shape.
So basically your message is send you money?
That would be to the end customer, to our shops and our manufacturers.
Speaking for the industry, of course.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
There you go. AEA 23 will meet where?
Be in Orlando in late April. Yeah.
Backyard.
We're gonna let Sun and Fun go first next year.
Oh, thank the Lord. You are now my new best friend.
All right.
That'll be a whole lot easier. But holy smokes, the transition this year between doing this, going home for a day and a half, going to Sun and Fun, got a couple of days, then to AUVSI, and at that point I think we all collapse and frankly don't answer the phone for about a week, so we shall see.
Well deserved.
We shall see. Alrighty folks, we are live from the 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show in New Orleans. We've had so far 2 really great days, including a day that preceded it on Bourbon Street that shall remain nameless, but my wife may have a few things to say about that later after we recover. In no uncertain terms, this is where all the cool stuff happens. We'll be back in a few minutes. We've got Cisco Hernandez, president of Texas Aerospace Technologies, on deck, and we're going to put him on the hot seat and ask all the good questions. We're live from AEA 2022. We'll be right back.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 65th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from New Orleans, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
An ELT is just another tick on your pre-flight checklist, until you need it. Did you ever wonder what would happen if you had an engine failure over the mountains, marshland, or other dangerous terrain? Take to the skies confidently with the most reliable and highest performing ELTs and safety products on board that instantly mobilize life-saving search and rescue across the world. Read survivor stories from aviators and adventurers who survived life-threatening encounters thanks to ACR and Artex life-saving technology. Luck favors the prepared at survivorclub.com.
Vantage is Avidyne's family of all-new flight display systems for retrofit and forward-fit applications. Initial certification will be Vantage 12, retrofit glass for legacy Cirrus aircraft. Vantage 12 brings advanced capabilities and adds new life to Cirrus aircraft, including large 12-inch diagonal hybrid touchscreen displays, 3D synthetic vision, and split-screen capabilities. Additional Vantage programs will be announced in the future.
Well, hello, fellow pilot. I'm John King.
And I'm Martha King.
You know, we've all had our flying lives disrupted lately.
Well, King Schools is here to help you stay up to date with courses that you can access on your desktop, iPad, or iPhone. If you'd like a refresher or just want to expand your aviation horizons, we have a course for you.
So head over to kingschools.com/Rusty today for details.
Alrighty, folks, we are back. 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show live from New Orleans. We're at the Ernest Morial Convention Center. We've been having a ball out here, by the way. I mentioned earlier that my wife and I did the Bourbon Street crawl Saturday night. It will be many years before I'm ready to do that again. All the kids who are out here for spring break have basically instilled in us the main reason why we just are not ready to go back and be young again. That was insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. She was telling me.
Oh, really something. I am very pleased to be presenting from Texas Aerospace Technologies, Cisco Hernandez, the president. And you guys have been making news. Of course, the big news is, well, you're here. It's a new enterprise to all intents and purposes. What are you trying to do with Texas Aerospace Technologies? What's the reason for being?
So we started Texas Aerospace Technologies to continue what we had started at DAC, and which is to be value-added distribution, to find niche products and produce products to fit that market, and also to do STCs to enable us to sell the products that we represent. That was the main function of what we wanted to accomplish.
Interesting. The process of going from what you've done to where you are right now, who are the major players? What was it that brought you to this reality?
Well, you know, when we were in our previous function, you know, we identified that the value-added distribution market is a good play for us in the sense that we're not a catalog house. What we'd like to do is distribute high technical products and do STCs so that we could sell those products directly and control the market we sell. And an example of that is usually dealers will do an STC, but they like to keep it within their own marketplace and sell that product. With us, we can go internationally and sell that STC to any customer overseas.
Big announcements, NPI, explain. What happened yesterday? With what you're planning to do with your product lines and so forth from here on out, especially your first big announcements here.
Yeah, so the big thing we announced was our accelerometer, our new product, which we built for an STC we did for the Mexican mandate. And the reason we did this is, if you look at the older products that were out there, there's no new products available, so they're used products, and the price point were extremely high and hard to get. So we decided to come out with a new MEMS technology, lower cost, smaller weight, and obviously a price point that we feel is very competitive in the marketplace.
Where do you see its implementation?
We see it with basically flight data recorders.
Okay.
The requirement, you need to have accelerometer to meet the velocity requirements, and so that's every FDR that goes out there will need an accelerometer.
Interesting. I think we're having a problem with the mic here.
Got it?
There we go. Okay.
Sorry about
Nothing
that.
like a little bit of an electronics problem.
Add figures.
You know, show isn't right until you've had your first glitch. So there you go. The community is not an easy one to enter into, even when you've got the background and relationships that you had to begin with. And I know there were other announcements for distribution and things of that nature. That's got to be a tough nut to crack, even with a strong background with the DAC and other lineage. Where are you finding your best opportunities, and how are you proving yourself?
Well, one of the things we've always prided ourselves was having a good, strong technical team. And our philosophy is that we are strong on the technical side. We like to demo equipment, more hands-on. And with that background, obviously, it makes it a lot easier to sell the products.
Interesting. Okay. What's your future? What are you looking at doing next?
We will continue to add OEM distribution partners. We will continue to look for little niche markets like our MEMS technology. And we will continue to do STCs that fit the model that we want to.
Anything looking particularly attractive?
We will continue strong to work with the FDRs, flight data recorders. We feel that's a good time. We're looking at maybe some Fuqua stuff. And then other little niche converters that we can find. An opportunity to help us sell the products that we represent.
What's your decision process like for something like that? I mean, you've got none of this is a small investment. It's a big decision when you decide to back something or get into a particular product line or a particular technology. How do you approach something that looks like it has some promise and take it from looks good to, okay, let's do this?
So again, everything starts probably with a spreadsheet, and you have a dollar value in mind. The way we look at it is we look at how many aircraft that we think we can hit in that product that we study. Then we look at the cost value. We'd also look at who's in that marketplace. And then we make an evaluation. We have a team that, including myself, that will look at the dollars that we're going to spend, the return on the investment, how long will it take before we get that return back, and then we'll make a team decision on to go ahead or not.
How big is your organization right now?
Currently, we're about, I think it's 7 employees, and we do co-share financial warehouse with our sister company, Texas Aerospace Services.
Okay.
In Abilene.
There's a lot of talk in this industry about finding, training, or grooming in some cases, talent necessary to build companies. How are you finding your search for quality people in the avionics industry?
We pretty much follow it's word of mouth. On the younger side, we in Abilene, example, we pick up a lot of the military folks that are retired or wanting to get out of the military. On the commercial side, it's basically looking for kids out of school and using our long-time membership here in the AEA to just ask questions and find out if we can find anybody that's willing to get into our marketplace.
We were talking to Mike Adamson previously about the community around here and how positive it is and how surprisingly non-competitive it is when it comes to people supporting each other in the industry. Have you found that attitude to work for a new entry like yours?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Interesting. How so?
I don't know how to answer that one.
No, okay. Not a problem at all. We've been watching the industry grow coming out of the pandemic and so forth. There seem to be a lot of opportunities and also a lot of caveats about what's happening with the economy, what's happening with the world, so forth and so on. What are the areas that concern you right now as you build your company?
Well, I mean, obviously, inflation is a key concern. As things get more expensive, are we going to continue to see the growth? I mean, we've seen a lot of growth, especially in the business aviation, with the COVID effect and everybody trying to fly. So that would be my main concern. Real estate is out of control, and so we just, we got to be competitive.
How are you doing with supply chain issues right now?
We're having issues. We've got backlog that we cannot fulfill. A lot of our OEMs are struggling with that supply chain. I will say that, for us, distribution, it's one of the benefits. If we can stock, we can help out some of these and solve some of these supply chain problems.
Well, that's how you make a name for yourself real quick.
That's what we want to do.
That's a big deal.
That's what we want to do.
So what's the industry need to do at this stage of the game, or what can it do? What kind of effect can it have on the current supply chain miasma, for lack of a way to put it?
Well, I think you're seeing a lot of OEMs now are starting to build up inventory. It used to be kind of build as we got an order, but I think now because of the supply chain issues, I think a lot of the OEMs are starting to do more forecasting, like that. The
way smaller companies operate under the guise of these 600-pound gorillas that are out there, there seems to be an interesting food chain that occurs. But at the same time, the larger companies seem to have been far more amenable to being approached and working with than they have been in the past. Has that been your experience?
It has been. It has been.
Why the change, do you think? For the longest time, a brand G or brand A or whatever, or brand U, prove it to me. But they seem to be far more amenable now.
I think people are open again, like you said, supply chain, anything that can help them.
Bingo.
I think they're open to that benefit.
Interesting. The overall industry, obviously, is still kind of putting itself back together. It's not quite sure what the next drop is going to be and so forth, but the ability to train, the ability to react, the leadership from AEA, which is frankly exceptional when you look at the rest of the associations, seems to have been the biggest thing that's kept people moving forward. What suggestions do you have for the AEA community or the AEA leadership in helping companies like yours, as well as the people you work with, prosper?
Well, I think the same. What they're really doing now, I think, is great. So I think we just need to continue to educate the young and help train and get people into this industry.
Are you seeing the training that's coming out of the tech schools as well as some of the equivalent military people being adequate to getting into the private sector?
I do. Yeah, I think so. I mean, what we're seeing in Abilene is just a shortage.
Really?
Of that, but yeah, extreme shortage of people. Yeah, and also you're having the competition. Minimum wage has gone up. Competition now, the salaries are extremely going up high, especially in those areas where we're used to a lower cost.
You mentioned hiring former military. Is that a preferred? I mean, with the people, the experience that the military provides, and not always under the best of circumstances, are you finding those people coming out to be better trained, or are they doing what you're hoping for?
I think so. I mean, I'm not too involved with our service repair business. Ours is mostly the distribution side, but I think they definitely is a benefit to their experience in that. So.
And what other products will you be distributing in the near future? Are you contemplating now?
So we will continue to focus on the cockpit and also in the cabin. Those are the main products. So we will continue to look for products like attitude heading, reference systems, more display type products, and again, more niche products, small products to complement those products that we pick up.
Weren't you in the process of working with one of the experimental avionics manufacturers?
We just picked up the Dynon
for
South America, right.
That's kind of an interesting market.
Yep.
So how do you approach something like that?
So we have a full-time person in Brazil, and so Vanderlei da Silva is our guy in South America, and our intent is to establish a dealer network, to do training, to supply demo units, and establish that whole dealer network in South America.
Dynon has built an incredible product line in a very short period of time. They benefited from being able to work with the experimental community because, boy, nothing is going to acid test a product like a guy putting it into his RV for the first time. And they've learned the lessons well, but at the same time, they are the new kid on the block. They're not a brand G or a brand A or some such. How are you finding it to be able to introduce something that new and yet still a little suspect to a market that isn't as exposed to it as we are up here north of the border?
Yeah, I think, again, our background, I mean, my background, I mean, we brought a lot of new products to the market. I mean, we were one of the first ones to introduce GPS into Latin America. We did Sandell for many years in Latin America. And I think our reputation allows us to bring a new product in, and there's a little bit of trust to allow us to establish this network.
Excellent.
So.
All righty. Well, we sure appreciate you spending some time with us. It's been an interesting convention this year, from people getting back together, meeting each other for the first time in a couple of years in many cases, starting to do some deal making on the floor and so forth. Is it back to normal for you now at this point?
It's almost back to normal. So it's great to be here to see all the old friends, all the new companies. You can see it's pretty well attended, well exhibited. So we're getting there. It's little by little. I'd say it's about 75% there, but it's going to be good. I think going forward, we're looking forward to continued growth.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Please keep us up to date on anything newsworthy. We did see the Dynon release the other day, and I know we're able to get that information out to people, but keep us up to date, and we will do the best with the rest of the industry. In the meantime, folks, we're going to take a short break. We've got, oh my goodness, it's Mike Ingram on deck from Shaden. Interesting news there, a lot of big changes. Basically, threw out the baby with the bathwater and started over, I guess. There's a lot going on at Shaden, so we're going to get into that in depth here in just a few moments. If you don't mind, this is the 65th annual AEA Convention and Trade Show, so we're going to take a quick break, substitute, get to the next victim. We'll be right back in just a few moments. This is AEA Live 2022. Alrighty, folks, short break over. Time for me to get back to work. God help you all. We are live at the 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show in New Orleans. We've had just a bang-up week. As noted before, yesterday we covered 29 new product introduction categories from a number of companies from throughout the industry here and across the world. And now we're taking our time to spend a little bit of quality time, for lack of a better way to put it, with the folks who were making news yesterday and going forward. So, Mike Ingram, President, CEO, Shaden. Not much new there, right? You guys have kind of thrown the baby out with the bathwater and reinvigorated and now heading off into new territory. Tell me everything.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, about 2 years ago, Shaden was purchased by a small group of private equity owners, 3 owners, Gardner Standard, Delmar Capital, and Bob LaBelle, and formed an organization called Maverick Investment Corporation. And they're looking to grow aerospace businesses from small to large. And they purchased Shaden back in early 2000. They purchased ECE about a year ago, Electronic Concepts and Engineering. And they wanted somebody with aviation experience, avionic experience, to come in and grow the companies. So that's why I got the call.
You've been around, buddy.
I have.
We've talked on a number of venues and places and times, and holy smoke, airplanes and so forth and so on through the years. So yeah, you kind of got the merit badge here, don't you?
So I got my bachelor's and master's degrees back in the 90s, and around 2000 I started with Avidyne and been in avionics ever since. So 22 plus years. Been doing avionics from engineering development through product management, business development, large P&L ownership at Honeywell, and international experience in China with GE, and now back in the kind of the small company feel, and it's a great place to be. I really love the culture that I've stepped into, and hoping to mold that culture into something that can grow and become much bigger than it is today.
Yeah, but the big difference here is you're GIC now, guy in charge. That's a big transition.
It's a humbling experience. I'm really trying to just keep it all real. Mm-hmm. You know, the people are great. They know a tremendous amount of their skill and their talents, and to come in with a new strategy. How do you take that experience and then create a new strategy and grow the company from what it is today to something that's greater?
So, Shaden, 2022. What is it now? What's it going to be?
So, it's part of the innovator's dilemma, right? You have to continue to execute your current business while you grow into new places. So, we're going to continue to grow in our 2 main products, fuel flow transducers and data concentrator units. We have more and more business, more and more need for a number of different customers coming to us. We have some great contracts in place. But I'm looking to grow the business as well. Looking to do what we do best, which is embedded control systems, embedded controllers that take data, do some processing on it, do some control, whether it's controlling actuation, measuring the weight of the airplane is one of our applications. But there are tons and tons of other applications out there that we can do at a certified level. So whether it's DO 178, DAL A, B, C, whatever, we have that experience. We can do environmental tests and bring that product to market for our customers. So that's where I see a lot of the growth, is to get a bunch of those programs in play at the same time, and a few of those will hit into larger production contracts.
Interesting. There's a bit of a teaser in the middle of there where you were talking about looking at other markets and other technologies, such as?
So sister company ECE does a huge amount of defense work. So they have contracts with some of the larger primes, General Dynamics, Lockheed. They have
no small potatoes there.
No small potatoes there. So what they've done is they've been primarily an engineering services company, and if we could take some of those projects that they've worked on and create production type products out of it, be more competitive. So leverage the benefits of both companies. So leverage Shaden's ability to have lower cost production and take some of those government contracts and produce them on a larger quantity. So that's what I mean by going into other markets. Shaden to be more exposed into the defense market. We do have some defense contractors and some defense work right now, but to expand that with the help of the ECE capabilities.
All this kind of, I assume when you were brought in, there was some kind of mandate from on high about what they wanted to see Shaden do. How is that going to shape your activities going forward from 22?
So everything that I've heard about private equity prior to getting into private equity has been about high stress. The stresses of being a CEO and driving to your profit margins. Not to say that some level of stress isn't there, but this is family-backed private equity, and they are very appreciative of having a leader who knows how to run the business, who wants to grow the business and deliver more value along with profits, but deliver that value and profits and grow the company and give something back into aerospace. So I've built a fondness of the owners, and I really appreciate them as well as they appreciate me. So they are looking to grow, no question about it, but they're not looking to get that immediate return in 12 months. They know it's going to take time, especially with the long development cycles within aerospace.
Not to mention the last couple of years for this industry.
Supply chain issues and all kinds of issues happening in the market right now. So
I was joking with the staff beforehand that supply chain issues are going to be a major content. We should start a drinking game for everybody out there that every time somebody comes up with supply chain issues, it's time to chug one. It's obviously a major topic.
Yeah, for sure.
How are you dealing with it?
So probably similar to other companies, you try to build as much inventory as possible, try to withstand the storm. You have to pay higher rates to some of the middlemen out there, but you need to have product on the shelf or stock on the shelf to build your products. The benefits of working for a small company is there's not as much focus on working capital and inventory being a big part of your business. So I don't have a problem putting more ICs or more resistors and capacitors on the shelf because I'm not being evaluated from my profit and loss perspective.
Okay, interesting. If I can get a little forward looking at this, you had mentioned about things you want to do in the future. Will this be accomplished by internal innovation or by acquisition?
Both.
Ooh,
yeah. So
there we go.
Yeah.
It's nice when you can take a look at the whole pie. There you go.
Well, and I say both. I mean, neither one I'd say is a 100% defined plan at this point. But internal, we have the engineers, we have the R&D, we have some investment capital that I can spend and put back into the business. We have cash to be able to do that. One of the challenges is to hire the right people. I've put out
another major topic here this week.
I've put out 6 to 10 offers in the last 2 months, and had a very few to actually come on board.
Ouch.
And it's part of it's probably competitive salaries, but part of it is also the size of the company, and they're looking for some of the more mature. To put it blunt, employees are in the driver's seat. They have a lot of options to where they want to go, so it makes it hard as an employer to hire people.
Amen. Been through it.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting process, and I think it's virtually any industry right now from a concept of the people coming up the ladder and the quote-unquote millennial attitude, as well as the folks who've been through a little bit of hell and may not be ready to step right into a job right now if they don't have to, but are kind of metering things out. Are you finding that the educational foundation for the industry, whether it's on the civilian or military side and people transitioning out, is that adequate to the task right now? Are those people being properly trained, so it's just a matter of convincing somebody to come on board, or are you finding the quality to be an issue as well?
No, I wouldn't say there's a problem with the quality.
Good.
We're looking for electrical engineers, software engineers, anywhere from a graduate to 10 to 15 years of experience. And we're finding that's, you bring them into a company, they have to get up to speed on learning the new tools of the company and the products. But we're finding that transition is not bad. Mm-hmm. We'd like to get people who are in aerospace who come into our aerospace companies. But if they're not from aerospace, we typically look for embedded type of processing, hardware, software kind of skills, and it's there.
To many people, and for the longest time, you mention a fuel issue of any kind, that's a Shaden thing. I mean, it's been synonymous with the company for the longest time. Will the folks who have looked to Shaden for fuel answers be able to continue to do so? What's happening to that product line?
Yeah, so we're continuing that product line. In fact, I'm investing in a new product, which we're not announcing this year, but there's another new product.
Just between you and I? Just ignore the cameras, no big deal.
We're doing some internal investments on just getting one of our fuel flow products more in our control, more in our supply chain. So internal development. The customer base won't see any difference, but we'll have more stability of our supply chain by making this improvement. So there's a low quantity fuel flow sensor that we do today, and there's a high quantity fuel flow that we do for PT6 engines and some of the higher quantity engines or gallons per hour type fuel flow systems. So those will all stay. We've been migrating out of some of the older legacy products. We did engine trend monitors. We did other air data computers. Those have been sunsetted. Some of them are sunsetted. We still service them, but from the forward production, those are not as popular as some of our fuel flow, remote flow, other fuel flow transducers that go into GTN products or some of the other glass display products.
The future path, your roadmap for the future at this point, do you see segments of the avionics industry that right now are what you may be targeting, or you may be targeting the future as GA, as BizAv, as military and defense? What are the areas right now that are attractive to you, and why?
Yeah. So different products, different customers are doing different markets. For example, we do a data concentrator unit that measures the pressures in the struts on an aircraft. Our customer has STCs in the 737 and the 777. I'm really excited about that product. We're doing some testing right now on one of the smaller airlines. We're proving it out over the next few months, and then we'll bring it to some of the major airlines. Pretty simple installation. They can do it in an overnight type of install time, and they can measure the actual weight and center of gravity of the aircraft. So you can validate your calculated weight and balance before you go down the runway and
Serious
take off.
check and balance.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
So that excites me. So that's obviously in the large air transport market. We do all the fuel flow transducers in the GA space, not all of them, but we have a big market in the GA space on Cirrus, the Vision Jet, some of the Robinson helicopters.
Yay, Robbies.
Yeah.
One of my favorite flying machines. Oh God, don't you love that thing?
Oh, it's awesome.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, I mean the beauty of this company is we're very diverse. We can go to Heli Expo a couple weeks ago and come here and go to Oshkosh and have customers in each one of those markets. So you don't get home much, do you? No. Well, we got a good business development team, and I've been doing a lot of business development as well and reconnecting with my contacts in the space, and it's been a lot of fun.
How big is the company right now?
Between the two, we're about 50 strong.
Ooh, okay, that's a respectable amount of people to run roughshod on, big time. Okay. Ouch, that had to be an interesting decision going forward. When you take responsibility to run something, it's a big moment.
Yeah, it's a different culture for sure. Coming from Honeywell and running a $2 billion P&L to a much smaller company. I'm enjoying it though. It's a lot of fun. It's a different culture, but like I said, the people are great, and we're going to grow this thing. So I'm excited about it.
The AEA community right now, as we are working our way out of a pandemic, as we are looking at some uncertainties in the future, especially with shenanigans on the other side of the pond, issues with leadership here and what's happening with the economy and all, what advice do you give to your fellow companies in AEA? What is the way that you're approaching the future after having dealt with what should be a worst case scenario and with other scenarios in the future that certainly give you reason to be cautious?
Well, people need to fly. People need to keep their airplanes up to the proper certifications, the proper specifications. The AEA is all about making sure that aircraft are safe to fly. So we need to continue to do the maintenance. We need to continue to keep our airplanes as high quality and as under specifications as possible. I say, there are geopolitical factors going on in the world right now, and but we need to make sure that we remain safe in our own, world here. Whatever support we can give to overseas and to our, and to our compatriots, we should be doing that. Mm-hmm. But to keep our country safe and protected, we need to make sure that our country is strong, and we're continuing to invest in our country, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's new developments, new products, new markets like the eVTOL space. Those are all things that make our economy stronger and make our country stronger.
Autonomous, uncrewed, eVTOL, all that. We are partners to AUVSI. We produce the airborne uncrewed program for every week, and we've been watching the technologies. I'm assuming you are with bated breath. The opportunities there are extraordinary.
Right.
How actively are you pursuing that market?
Cautiously optimistic.
Ooh, good one. There you go. Okay. Yeah, because we're all going to be flying Jetsons in 2024, right?
Yeah, I lived through the VLJ days with Eclipse and Vern Rayburn and Adam Aircraft and a bunch of them.
God, Adam, that's going back.
It was, it was an interesting time.
Heady stuff too. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I thought the
until
technology,
the inevitable crash and burn.
Well, and the technology was advanced.
Yeah.
There were certain things that came out of that were positive. And the same I see will come out of the eVTOL transformation that's happening right now. I think there's going to be a lot of good airplanes that come out of it. Mm-hmm. I think there will be some successes and there will be some failures. So when you look at the products that would come out of Shaden and ECE to go into that market, we have some very strong products that could help them out. We can do large power distribution, power conversion, 28 to 270 or even higher voltages. We can control electronic actuators, electromechanical actuators, or motors. Hydrogen fuel cells. We can do that control.
It's going to be a big deal.
Those sensors, those temperatures, all of those regulatory things, things that you need to regulate within that propulsion system. We've done all that in the past. And so we're talking to a number of the players and just telling them the value that we can bring to them, and that we can bring a certified control system for them for whatever they need.
It's an exciting aspect of the industry. I'm working in flight test on a couple of those projects, and of course have an NDA that thick, so can't say much more.
Yep.
Exciting stuff. There isn't a single one of them that, to me, has a reasonable timetable, but at the same time, they're all delving into areas that, in the long run, are going to educate us immensely. To a certain extent, look what came out of VLJ between avionics and power plants and everything else, as well as some of the other areas. So yeah, we're going to see some huge changes from it. I'm not quite sure the Jetsons aspect of things is anything we're going to see in the future, but man, if you're not watching this now, you're out of your mind, because the money's there, the impetus is there, and the imagination is there. That's a great place to be. Final question, kind of a toughie. Where do you see Shaden 5 years from now? Outside of after you buy Garmin or something. Right?
Yeah, that would be a dream. Where do I see Shaden? I see Shaden continuing to grow. I see us continuing to reinvest our profits back into the business. I see us being on the more innovative and leading edge of aerospace and avionics. I look at the synergies, like I said, with ECE and Shaden and how we leverage that sharing of technology and that intellectual property back and forth. And I see Shaden being much larger than it is today. So without getting into too much details, there's definitely some fun.
Not just between you and me.
There's some fun.
There's
some fun areas that we're exploring and investing in. If we can get on some of the eVTOL market on some of the eVTOL aircraft, that's going to be a lot of fun. And we hope that more will be successful in that space, and we pick the right ones and we start building the 2,000 or 3,000 a year that they talk about.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit yet, but we wish you nothing but the best of luck. We've,
Appreciate
of course, as I said, been working with you off and on and in various iterations for quite some time. Keep us up to date news-wise so that people out in the aviation industry know what you're doing, especially as Shaden becomes more than, the fuel guys. And that'll be an interesting, it's one thing to have a really good branding, which you've had. It's another to expand it. Mm-hmm. And I'm anxious to see what you do with that as you get the ability and the reason to expand.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.
Mike Ingram, President and CEO of Shaden Avionics. Lots of big changes there and boding well for GA, BizAv, military, and of course, eVTOL and the autonomous community. We can't wait to see. We'll have to get back together in 5 years and see how this all worked out.
Sounds good.
So as long as you're not on the bread line, we're fine, right?
That's right.
This industry, you just don't know, feast or famine. Folks, this is the 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. We're happy to keep presenting a number of guests down the line. We've got Gogo on deck. Dave Salvador will be with us a little bit. We're going to be talking probably a lot of 5G, and the good kind of 5G, the 5G that isn't trying to shoot down your airliner and grandma and all that kind of thing. Avidyne's on the deck afterwards, Mid-Continent, ACR Electronics, and of course PS Engineering. It's going to be a full day and another full day tomorrow. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. We are live from AEA 2022 at the Ernest Morial Convention Center. Be back in just a few moments. Bye.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 65th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from New Orleans, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Hi, Devin Gall here, one of your True Blue Power field service engineers.
Hi, I'm Ryan Reed with True Blue Power.
Think about how much better your back is going to feel when lifting 40 pounds less up here when changing the battery out.
As a pilot that flies behind these batteries, walking up to your aircraft knowing your engine's going to start every time is unlike any other battery.
Vantage is Avidyne's family of all new flight display systems for retrofit and forward fit applications. Initial certification will be Vantage 12, retrofit glass for legacy Cirrus aircraft. Vantage 12 brings advanced capabilities and adds new life to Cirrus aircraft, including large 12-inch diagonal hybrid touchscreen displays, 3D synthetic vision, and split screen capabilities. Additional Vantage programs will be announced in the future.
Introducing the new ELT 345 from Artex. This emergency locator transmitter, or ELT, boasts an industry-low price, while providing the same quality and performance on which the Artex brand was built. GPS data is embedded within the first emergency transmission and provides search and rescue personnel with the aircraft location within 100 meters in less than a minute. Take to the skies knowing that you have the highest performing and reliable equipment on board. View our selection of ELTs and safety products at www.artex.com. Artex, your best last chance.
Are you ready to ace your FAA drone pilot knowledge test, get your remote pilot certificate, and start earning money? Well, flying a drone is a great tool that can open up new business opportunities for anyone. Realtor, insurance adjuster, videographer, or commercial weekend drone warrior, you need to fly legally. Whether you're pursuing your initial Part 107 remote pilot certificate or you need a renewal, King Schools has a course just for you. So start learning today at kingschools.com.
Alrighty folks, we're back. 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show live from New Orleans. Really great place to have a convention, by the way. A lot of neat stuff happening around, and we're heading out a little bit afterwards to do the Café du Monde experience, as well as find the best seafood restaurant in the area, according to my wife. So we're looking forward to getting about and having some fun. But more important, let's get back down to business. We've got Dave Salvador here, Gogo. Let's talk 5G aviation. We're talking about the good 5G, the kind that doesn't threaten grandma and her airliner.
Right.
And you've built up this immense network all over the country and should be complete by the end of the year?
Yeah, we actually announced at the show that we will be live with our network, complete CONUS coverage. We're going to launch that at the National Business Aircraft Association show the week of October 18th. So we'll have our hardware will be fully certified and PMA'd, Parts Manufacturing Authority. We'll have the network done, and we will go live with commercial service at the event.
Let's check your mic real quick. I think we've still got a problem here. No mic? Yeah, you did. I'll try it again. Okay, there we go. Electronic difficulties. What can you say? I'll tell you what, the old XLRs are getting really tough to seat these days. I don't know. And yet you try wireless in a place like that, and that gets to be another issue with everybody banging signals around inside the convention center. So the amount of investment, the amount of planning, the amount of technical expertise has to be extraordinary. And we're having a problem here with the mic, aren't we? Okay, we're going to switch mics real quick. So keep on going. All right, you'll have to excuse me for just a moment. We're fixing mics. So for the moment, AEA 2022 has completed the MPI, the 29 events yesterday, a number of companies from throughout the industry. Pretty extraordinary when you take a look at the amount of technology that's going on out there. We were pretty excited about a number of new players as well as older companies that were coming up with a whole lot of new ideas at the time. Best part of the whole thing at this point is that the industry is moving forward after a couple of years of pandemic. And so at the moment, we are doing our best to stay alive. And the industry is looking forward to the future, and we're pretty excited that we're going to continue to do so. At any rate, for the moment, we are fixing some of our technical issues here. And we look forward to getting back with them in just a moment. How we doing, folks? This is what live, yeah. This is the fun of doing live video.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 65th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from New Orleans, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
The ELT is just another tick on your pre-flight checklist, until you need it. Did you ever wonder what would happen if you had an engine failure over the mountains, marshland, or other dangerous terrain? Take to the skies confidently with the most reliable and highest performing ELTs and safety products on board that instantly mobilize life-saving search and rescue across the world. Read survivor stories from aviators and adventurers who survived life-threatening encounters thanks to ACR and Artex life-saving technology. Luck favors the prepared at survivorclub.com.
Test, test.
Alrighty, folks, we've had our little big glitch for the day. Little big, whatever. It's not an electronics event without something going wrong, and we just had our interesting little glitch. So we've had a mic fail, so now we're fixed up, and we're going to start from the beginning and get this thing done right. We're introducing again Dave Salvador from Gogo, talking about 5G aviation and the fact that you guys are getting ready to take over the world with the brand of 5G that's of no threat to anybody.
Correct.
Tell me about building the kind of infrastructure that can first cover the country, and I assume goes other places from here.
Yeah, so Gogo has a history of building air-to-ground networks, and this actually is our fourth air-to-ground network that we've built. This is a second network to our existing network. So we have a current 4G network, and we're adding another network on top of that. We're utilizing some of the same towers that we have our 4G infrastructure on, but we also have the benefit of already having all the ground infrastructure there because we're hanging new antennas on an existing network that's there. So we're deploying 150 5G towers that will cover, when we go live, continental US. And as you said, there are plans to continue to expand that in North America potentially, based on the business case. But the customers will have the ability to take off anywhere in CONUS, and with a 5G equipped aircraft, which we can talk about a little bit, that will allow them to have coverage across the entire continental US.
Let's talk about what it takes to equip an aircraft in particular, because you're covering a bigger swath in aviation than you ever have.
Yep.
And that's a lot of different types and categories of airplanes.
Correct.
You're down to single engine personal jets and so forth and working your way up from there. What's it take to equip an aircraft right now to be able to use Gogo 5G?
So the Advanced platform, which is our current product line, that was announced less than 5 years ago, August 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a software-centric platform that we have different hardware configurations that offer different experiences for customers. but it is a common set of components that allow us to build those different configurations. The Avance L5, which is currently our top of the line for Avance, that is the foundation that you will add the 5G hardware to get a 5G experience. So you'll be actually adding a second box to an existing L5 installation, or in the future, a new installation. There'll be 2 LRUs, line replaceable units in the aircraft that will deliver a 5G experience. And then there'll be a new antenna that'll be installed, 2 of them on the belly of the aircraft, that will have multi-band antenna elements in there. So it'll have our current network, it'll have the 5G network antenna element, and actually we're adding the terrestrial modem, which in the current configuration is inside the aircraft. So all those components for the antennas will be in the new antenna that we just received our first STC in Parts Manufacturing Authority last month. We announced that last month. So it's called the MB13, multi-band 13-inch blade antenna.
Outstanding. The current plans are to be deployed by the end of the year. This was the big announcement, of course, yesterday, and got a lot of fanfare and interest in that, not to mention the fact that you hit the 1 million mark, particularly impressive one under the circumstances in regards to how the system is being utilized. Where will this go? I mean, ultimately, I'm sure you can't explain your complete roadmap for the future, but what is Gogo going to be looking like in the next few years?
Sure. So you mentioned the 1 million mark. That is, we have exceeded 1 million flights, wheels up to wheels down, with the Avance platform, and we have over 2,600 systems that have been installed through our authorized partner network, and that's either the OEMs on the line fit side for new aircraft, or the aspect of the aftermarket and installing the equipment in the aftermarket. So where we're going is we're building what's next to meet the demands of our customer base. And as we know on the ground, the applications that we use continually get more data consumption aggressive, and we're building the 5G network to plan and to provide options for customers to have more capacity in the aircraft. It's not necessarily just more speed, it's about widening the river of data, right? You consider a 1-lane highway for data versus a 3-lane highway. Adding 5G takes a 1-lane highway to a 3-lane highway, as an example.
And it's such an addictive process. That's the part that's interesting.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you last year, reminiscing a little bit about my operations in a CJ3 with Tracy Forrest, God bless him. And boy, I'll tell you what, he lived by you guys. I mean, it's funny, we'd get off the ground, he'd look at me, your airplane, he'd go to work with his laptop, and I'm keeping an eye on this and that, but at the same time catching up with notes to home and everything else, and what's happening in the office. And it was extraordinary, the versatility that kind of both amount and quality of data allowed us to have, especially, we're running from one end of the country to the other for the Living Legends dinner, and there's a lot going on, and oh yeah, we're doing barbecue in Texas at the fuel stop, and all the things that are going on, and oh yeah, what's happening with this project and that story. And we never stopped. It was extraordinary just how much it broadened the use of the airplane. The airplane is an extraordinary tool, but when you've got data to go with it, when you have no limits and you're not walled off from the world is brought into your cockpit and your cabin.
Correct.
Holy smokes, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and there was only 2 of you on the aircraft utilizing the system at the time, and that's when you start looking at, you get a Gulfstream as an example, or a Global, Bombardier Global aircraft, and these
I'm ready, bring it on.
and 10, 11 people on board the airplane. Average count of devices connected to the internet could be 2.5 devices. And in our world of business aviation, most of the time they're all going to work, right?
Yeah.
And in the last couple of years, the challenges we've had, the demand for video conferencing, as an example, heavy data consumption when you do video conferencing, and imagine that, 35,000 feet above the ground. So that's where we start looking at what the demand is today, and we've seen over a 40% increase in data consumption just in the last year from what it was a year ago. And that's where we need to have tools for our customers to make sure that they can do what they want to do in the airplane, and also the crews, what they want to do, weather graphics and all those type of things from a safety perspective. So that is really where Gogo is going, is we're continuing to look at meeting the demand, not only today, but what we can do in the future. And then, beyond that, as an organization, we continue to investigate global connectivity solutions. So that's something that we are working on, and I'm not at liberty to talk any more than that, but that is something that we continue to work on.
Is that likely to be a terrestrial solution, though?
Unlikely to be a terrestrial solution.
I kind of figured.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, what's happening right now, especially in regards to current, future internet capabilities, data capabilities, and so forth, that automatically seems to be generating to, okay, what can you launch and from where?
Yeah.
So that'd be an interesting transition for you. But right now, with the ability to cover the country, are you finding that the industry is really embracing the power of what you're bringing to it? Are they really beginning to comprehend just what you've got?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I would completely agree with you is if you look at how in aviation we've had the last couple of years with the pandemic, a lot of folks have moved to business aviation, whether it be more charter activity, people buying fractional shares of business aircraft, people buying new aircraft owners.
And you've done some fleet sales already, haven't you?
Yeah, we recently just announced PlaneSense, which is a fractional operator out of the Northeast. They have equipped their entire PC-12 and PC-24 fleet with the Advanced L3 platform. So that is, again, just one of the things we hear all the time is that when somebody goes to charter an airplane, buy a fractional share, there's two questions they have. They have one, what does it cost? And does it have Wi-Fi?
There you go.
And that's why it's paramount to make sure that they're connected, and that's why we've been fortunate to have products that meet the demand.
And let's face it, if you don't, they're calling the next charter operator right away. You just click, and they're on to plan B.
And everything we've heard from our partners that or our customers that are using it in the fleets, they don't have enough aircraft right now to meet the demand that they're seeing in lift requests. So they're going out and they're buying airplanes, and if those airplanes don't have connectivity, they've got to add it, because every one of their value adds that they have by using, to your point, if that airplane doesn't have connectivity, they may not get the charter.
Yeah. Boy, interesting competition scene coming up in no uncertain terms. What happened? Okay, you get to a 5G completion. North America is sound. How much of the community is that going to be able to handle, and for how long? Are you going to have to build up upon that, or will that pretty much settle for the future until you start moving out of the geometry of CONUS?
So we have, of course, our current network is made up over 250 towers. And we're launching our 5G network with 150 towers for completion, continental U.S. We have the ability to add more towers. So we look at it from a futuristic standpoint of we're not going to stop adding investments into the network if we can't provide the same level of service. And that, as a company, we historically have had the benefit of seeing forward of what the demand may be based on our continued sales, and then adding infrastructure to accommodate that. The other side of it is we were sharing our existing network at one point with the commercial aviation business, which, as we talked about last year, that was something during COVID that we've now sold. Intelsat purchased that from us. So we are solely focused on business aviation. That is what we do when we're laser focused on it. So we have the ability to add capacity when necessary, and we will do that well in advance of having any degradation of service for our customer base.
Interesting. The operator right now has got himself a CJ3 or 4 or a Challenger or what have you, has a solution that isn't working so well. Here's 5Gs, his ears get tuned real quick and go, whoa, wait a second, I need that. What is the process? What advice, what direction do you give somebody who wants to take on this kind of capability?
So our products are somewhat of a stepping stone with the different hardware configurations that we offer. So the Advanced L3, we talked about when you were flying, you had two people on the aircraft, and everything that you were doing, it was meeting the needs of what you were doing. It really comes down to that. You may hear 5G and you may say, I need that, but maybe we're meeting your needs right now, so there's not that stepping stone necessary yet. Now, if you do need more, the Advanced L5 is the platform to add the 5G bearer, essentially. And that is a matter of adding one single box in the aircraft connecting to the existing infrastructure. All the Wi-Fi that's set up in the aircraft today is already there and does not need to change. The antennas that are on the bottom of the aircraft for the Advanced L5, those would come off, and we would add the new multiband 13 antenna that we talked about earlier, and that will offer the ability now to have 5G on the aircraft.
Wonderful. All righty. And at this point, what aspects of the industry do you think you'd be targeting next? I mean, you're looking at the biz jets. I mean, is there any room for GA? Is there any room in rotor?
So we have been slowly moving down market with our product offerings. You mentioned the Cirrus jet and the announcement we made about 8 months ago. We've had over 35 of those airplanes already equipped with the Advanced L3 offering the connectivity. So we are stretching our market penetration and our market segmentation. We are looking at going farther downstream in the community to offer different levels of connectivity. It's always, you know, economies of scale of what somebody's willing to invest in a hardware and installation, and then what they're willing to pay for service. So there's tremendous opportunity out there. Our network is robust. It can handle, you know, lots more airplanes. It just comes down to if we can come up with that, the business proposition for us as a company, as well as the customer if we're willing to pay for it.
How about rotor?
Rotor is a challenge with air-to-ground. That's not something that we could do with an air-to-ground system from the physics behind it.
We rotor guys have tendency to get nosebleeds above 100 feet anyway. So.
Yeah, the network turn on and turn off point, which we lowered to 3,000 last year, but it also comes down to the physics behind underground, where the signals work and that type of thing with the network.
All righty. I'll tell you what, we're anxious to see when we get together in Orlando next year just how the full rollout has gone, and more important by then, and hopefully have a chance to try the system out in real time myself. I'm looking forward to that as well. More important, as I understand it, you guys are doing a live demo today with one of your tower installations going live. So we're excited to see what comes of all that, and more important, what we'll learn in the process.
Yep.
If you will, keep us up to date news-wise. It's been an interesting process. There have been changes at the top. There are changes and upgrades with the system, with the capabilities. You guys are hard to keep up with, and we're just barely catching breath as we, okay, what did Gogo do now? So fun stuff.
It is, and you mentioned the progress of the network. We actually launched a live a map that shows which sites are turned on, and in full transparency between now and when the system goes into full service at the week of November 18th. That's on our website today, and people can follow along and see the final build out of the system in the network live on our website.
You guys are going to be a lot of fun at MBAA this year, aren't you?
Yeah, we are.
Outstanding. Dave, as always, you guys are fun to follow because, let's face it, when it comes to innovation, you guys are really pushing the limit. That's fun to watch.
Thanks, Jim. We appreciate the opportunity to talk about it too.
There we go. Alrighty, folks, we're going to take a break. Hopefully our little mic issues are behind us. Thanks to Nathan for figuring this out and that out, and Holland and Annie chasing down all the electronic gremlins. We are live from the 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show in New Orleans. We'll be back in just a few moments. Thanks. Okay, here we go.
Thanks, sir.
Covered it in B-roll, okay.
Oh, good. Yep, let me take this off.
Mike, do you have the config modules for the Aspen?
1, 2, test.
Alrighty, folks, we've been killing audio gremlins, so hopefully that's all behind us, but it's not an electronic show without a glitch here and there. Happy to be back once again. It's, been a long time, Tom, but, year now. Eek.
A whole year.
Tom Harper, Avidyne. We've watched this company, been involved with this company over the course of quite a long time, and it's been interesting to watch the iterations of thought that have contributed to the direction that Avidyne decides to take. Oshkosh this year, you guys kind of surprised some folks in a couple of ways, but also started getting into some wild technologies, AI notwithstanding.
Yeah.
So how do you explain Avidyne right now? Where are you going? What are you doing? What's the hot story? What's the hot topic? What's the hot product?
Well, we've got as you mentioned, we made a lot of cool announcements at Oshkosh, and we're fulfilling those now. So we've got Vantage, which is our flight display system retrofit for the Cirrus, as our initial offering, what we call Vantage 12, which would imply there might be a Vantage XX for other airplanes. AI, you mentioned, Pilot Eye. We announced Avidyne is teaming with Daedalian of Switzerland, a Switzerland-based company, to certify an AI, artificial intelligence-based vision system for general aviation aircraft. So that project is progressing, and we hope to have a product to market this year. So that's kind of exciting. We've got some other new announcements coming up later in the year, and then we've got some software releases coming on our IFD products. So a lot going on at Avidyne.
That's for sure. Let's talk first about Vantage. You obviously have a heavy market there, especially with upgraded Avidyne replacements and so forth. And not to mention the folks who got stuck with the six-packs in the early days. What's the initial reception? What kind of data and feedback are you getting from folks that are interested or have made the decision to go with you?
Yeah, well, the installed base of Integra aircraft from about 2002 to 2008, those aircraft are still very viable, and certainly in this market, their value is increased dramatically. So,
it's amazing what's happened
that's
in the used
right.
market.
So
Insane.
the ability to upgrade those products, there's a lot of pent-up demand for that. So Vantage really hit the mark, I think, based on the feedback we're getting in terms of the kind of features that folks are looking for to move from the 20-year-old Integra technology to what's available now.
What airplanes are likely to be next? Do we have any idea yet where you might want to go?
We haven't made any announcements on the what's next. We've got our plate full getting this Vantage 12 done, but obviously a 12-inch glass isn't going to retrofit into too many legacy GA airplanes like your 182s with a yoke coming through. So we're going to have to go to a slightly smaller size piece of glass in order to fit that. That's going to also couple with some autopilot interfaces and IFD upgrades. So lots of opportunity, which is exciting. So it ought to be a fun few years going forward here.
The community has been pushing for more and more AI-centric technologies. So when you came to Oshkosh and we saw what the capabilities were for Pilot Eye and the like, we had to stand back a little bit and go, okay, what the hell are they talking about? I mean, it's a lot of information to digest, but did it regardless. The system that you're working with, the people that you're working with, what ultimately is the target audience and what is you're trying to actually accomplish?
Sure. Well, Pilot Eye is an onboard vision system, and it's to augment the pilot's ability to see and avoid other airborne objects, both cooperative and uncooperative.
The demonstration on that, by the way, was really convincing.
Yeah, we flew several sorties into a very busy Oshkosh last year, and we were able to replay those videos in the booth for folks.
It doesn't get much busier in Oshkosh.
Right.
No.
So the pilot workload in that type of environment is very high, and it's a vision system, so it kind of sees no better than a pilot could see, arguably, but it doesn't get fatigued. It doesn't overlook certain areas of the in the scan. So it's always on sentry duty, keeping an eye out and keeping you safe. Now, in a world where we've got ADS-B traffic and active surveillance traffic like TAS and TCAS, people have asked, well, why do I need a Pilot Eye? But again, in a world, in an airspace we're moving to, where there's so much non-cooperative traffic, and with the drones, the emergence of drones that may or may not be adequately equipped to be interrogated, and even birds and stuff, the Pilot Eye system has the ability to pick those out and alert a pilot. So it becomes a great augment system, and primarily I think there's going to be a lot of uptake in the helicopter market where you're flying lower to the ground, more chance of a more congested airspace with remote piloted or unmanned type of vehicles.
There have been a number of software upgrades promised for the IFD series, and the IFD series has been fun to watch because, let's face it, it was taking a look at the competition and slapping them across the face a little bit, which was kind of fun to watch. And competition in this business is a good thing because it kind of pushes people into new areas. What are we looking for now on the new upgrades to the IFD series?
Yeah, we've always, even going back to our early days with Integra and with our multifunction displays, had a continuous path and flow of new software and new capabilities. We're currently in a 10.2.6 on the IFDs, and over the years those IFD owners have gotten the addition of synthetic vision. We've enabled wireless connectivity. These are all, and many more features, but what we're calling AviOS 3 or revision 10.3 software is adding visual approaches, en route VNAV, tandem radio tuning, so in a dual radio situation for front to back, you can tune the cross-side radio, single point. We've got some helicopter features in there like radar altimeter display, power line database.
Like that.
Yep.
Like that a lot.
Helicopter TAWs. So a lot of cool features. We can zoom the map down lower. So this is feedback we've got from previous shows of things that customers would like to see.
Interesting. Where do you see Avidyne going over the next few years? It's been an interesting journey thus far, but at this point, with some of the new areas you're heading into, it's hard to predict where you go next.
Well, right. I mean, the Pilot Eye thing is interesting because we've partnered with Avidyne, and they're really the experts in the artificial intelligence part of it, and we're developing the hardware platform to host that software. But we're also the certification expert we're the ones that are working to actually certify and find the methodology to certify this artificial intelligence going forward, which will then open up for unimaginable type of new products in the future. So there's that, coupled with our flight display launch. So we've got obviously a lot of opportunity for new flight displays in a plethora of airplanes that are hungry to have that.
What's the current deployment plan for Vantage?
We are on pace to certify and deliver this year into the Cirrus market, Hopefully we'll have some other announcements coming soon on other sizes of displays that can fit into the rest of the world, if you will, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. On topics that we've been covering with everybody who's been up here, how is Avidyne dealing with the supply situation out there right now? We're seeing, we keep joking there's going to be a drinking game every time we bring up supply issues. Take a chug back out there for the folks watching the live audience. But it's obviously been brought up, and also how is Avidyne meeting its needs for hiring right now? Are we finding that the climate out there is building the kind of technician and folks that you need for the company to be able to proceed?
Yeah, from a manufacturer's point of view, we're always looking for software engineers. That's a critical piece because of the regulations and the requirements around certified software-based products. Obviously, being on the board at AEA, we hear it all the time from the dealers that they need qualified technicians. But one of the things as a manufacturer we can do, and we're working very actively to do, is help the dealers bring perhaps lower qualified folks in or new technicians and get them up to speed quicker by providing things like our interactive installation manual, the online videos. We've got a new dealer portal where they can go on and get on their mobile phone and get access to training apps and also real-time troubleshooting videos. So we think that's going to help some. There's obviously a lot of other programs going on with the association to help that, but it's a real challenge. As far as supply chain, we've got availability. We've done some things. We had already strategically made decisions to have parts on hand so that we could always have stock and be able to deliver as a strategic advantage. When the supply chain stuff hit us this last year, we dealt with a lot of the same challenges everybody else is, which is you can maybe be able to get the parts, but you're going to pay, 500%, 800% markups on them. So we've had to deal with those challenges and rolling those price increases in, but we're proud to say that we are still delivering product, and that's helping keep these dealers in business, frankly. They're able to continue to deliver product and meet the needs of our end customers.
Unfair question.
Oh, good.
We are going to be meeting somewhere down the line. We'll call it AEA 2027, 5 years from now. What's Avidyne look like?
Well, we continue to add products to our portfolio. We think there's a lot of opportunity to extend that. With having flight displays, that's going to really broaden our market. And autopilots, coupling the existing available autopilots, plus perhaps growing the certification list for our own DSC 90. So those are opportunities we're going to have. We're going to see the growth in the advanced air mobility market is huge. And we've got our fingers into some of that, and so we think there's going to be a lot of growth on that side of the house. So we're real excited about that.
That's an interesting area. We were talking today that everybody's pushing Jetsons in 2024 and 25, and we're just kind of going, yeah, no. At the same time, the technologies that are being worked on, the impetus behind it, the amount of money involved, the resources being thrown at it, indicate that something extraordinary is going to come of it all. Won't look like, excuse me, won't look like what a lot of people think it should look like or will look like according to current prognostications, but regardless, it's going to change the industry. The key is how to judge the technologies that have a chance at winning versus those that don't, and that's got to be a toughie. So you guys better have one hell of a crystal ball in order to be able to judge a proper future out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So no sweat, Dan. Go for it.
Right. Well, one of the things we're trying to do is really listen to the voice of the customer and build them the products they want and need. We've got a lot of cool ideas that we can put in front of them, but rather than try to wedge our existing products into what they have, is listen, how can we take our current products and change them and modify them and or create new to really fit that different model.
Final question. Some time ago, you guys went up against brand G with your IFT series. And on top of it, you kept adding trick after trick. Things that we never saw in those boxes before. Synthetic vision? I mean, what? I thought this was supposed to be, a radio or a nav system or this and that. I mean, you kept adding trick after trick after trick. The box has gotten more capable, and you got more competitive. It was interesting watching what you were doing in your place in the industry. What has Avidyne learned from the IFD experience to date?
Well, it's a great product.
Yeah.
And certainly our friends over at Brand G are formidable competitors. They make great products.
Yeah.
We can all agree on that. But I think it's great for the industry to have a competitor in the market. If you want an IFR GPS in your GA airplane, you only have two choices. And there's a reason there's only two of us, because it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
And we think
even harder to do well.
And we think we do it well. We think we innovate and we bring cool stuff to market. And I think that's going to continue to serve us well going forward.
Well, in no uncertain terms, you guys have been incredibly innovative. The part that I have enjoyed over the years is watching the man-machine interface. I had R9 in a previous airplane that shall remain nameless, and was really impressed by how easy it was to operate under the most critical conditions. When I'm running into Miami and I've got a hop to do for the airline I was working for at the time, and I've got 3 hours to get to an airplane, pre-flight it, and be heading for Mars, and so forth and so on, and all of a sudden they switch my approach from the west to the south to this to that. In other systems, that was a lot of key strikes, a lot of button loads, a lot of this, that, and the other. But the wonderful thing about R9 at the time was it was so intuitive, it was so simple, and the best part was the way it laid out the information. So I had, no worries about that. It was all getting done. It was getting done fast. And of course, those lessons were part and parcel of IFD, and part and parcel, I assume, of Vantage and everything else.
You bet.
And you guys did that just better than anybody.
Well,
period.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic system, and it became the basis for what we're doing today. And folks are flying around with real FMSs now.
Yeah. Well, it was the best system I ever flew at the time. It really was well, frankly, still to a certain extent. And the best I've owned. It was really something. But I'm anxious to see what you do with Vantage down the line and where it goes from there.
Lots of cool stuff coming.
When you're ready for the Twin Comanche, let me know, man.
All
That's
right.
going to be my next bird.
Very good.
Tom, thanks so much for everything.
Pleasure, Jim.
All righty, folks, we are going to take a break. We've got, Mid-Continent is on deck. Let's do this right. We're going to be back in just a few moments. We are live from the 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show, the Ernest Morial Convention Center, right on Convention Center Way. We've already done our Bourbon Street crawl. We've been out doing crawfish last night. We're doing all the New Orleans experience, so stick around, enjoy some of it with us. We will be back with a couple of really great guests and heck with it. Let's just be out. We'll be back in just a moment.
course, all repair stations do this.
Go.
Like this way. Okay, folks, we are back. Once again, we are at the 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Ernest Morial Convention Center in beautiful downtown New Orleans. We've had quite a week. Yesterday, 29 companies stepped up and introduced the latest and greatest, not the least of which was Mid-Continent. We're happy to be here with both Todd and Van Winter. No relation, of course, no. And man, every time I turn around, you've either got the battery from Mars, the gauge from Mars, or something else that's just hard to comprehend where it goes next. Let's talk about the latest and greatest from Mid-Continent. Take it away.
Greatest. Well, yeah, we love aviation. I love aviation.
I've heard that.
And when we can go, we really don't go as far as Mars, but when we can go out and find some really good technology and say, that's what we need. That's what we need in GA or commercial, or now for us even some military applications. We go out, we find a way to bring it back and make flying better, safer, more efficient, all the things we strive for, right, day by day. So we have got some more new products from Mid-Continent Instrument Company and True Blue Power, and Van can tell us a little bit about two of those. We were talking about cables and mic cables. So one of our newest items, lots of people use our USB chargers, and we have a whole family of those with a lifetime warranty because they're so good, including PD technology. He's an expert on that. You want PD because that's the highest power. But then somebody said, well, why do you need a cable?
Yeah, so
what do you think?
Cut the cords was one of the taglines from the new product introduction video that we did. And so we've got 3 different wireless chargers that we're coming out with. The reason that they're different is they're kind of all different sizes. So we have one that's really thin wireless charger. We have one that has a larger charging area. Sometimes when you set your phone on a wireless charger, it's hard to find exactly where to place it.
We were doing that about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. So this, with the largest charging area, you kind of have a little bit more space to put your phone down. And then we came out with a really compact one that's kind of in a square type shape. We know that our customers are going to be installing these at a lot of different places. They've already come up with some really good ideas and feedback, and so to be able to do one in that square format will be really nice if it's a tight spot to be able to install it. But yeah, they've been great. They're high power still. They're 15 watts. So I always tell people, when you think of those old white Apple brick chargers, those are only 5 watts. So wirelessly, we're doing triple that volume with these products, which is great.
Interesting.
And they're addictive. I don't know about you, but once you start going wireless, it's very convenient, and you want it every place, right? Including in your aircraft, especially in the cabin. But we will have cockpit solutions as well. So, just trying to make it easy, fast, convenient, modernized.
Outstanding. The systems as they are right now, how can they be utilized? Where are the regulatory pitfalls, if any?
Well, we received our TSOs. Again, that's the thing we do. You can get wireless chargers, but can you get a unit designed for aviation,
okay,
as we understand, and do the certification, right, for the reliability and the safety aspect. So, as you know, we've taken care of that worry, and then the installers can get creative and come up with the places. They already know where they would like to have them, so they can start refining that. We've already had some great discussions here at the show, so you know they're coming to an airplane near you soon. So no big hurdles, just creative installation.
I would imagine a show like this is kind of a treasure trove for folks like you, looking at how your gear is going to be implemented, some of the crazy ideas that come up, and more important, just what your customer or potential customer might be thinking.
Absolutely, and we try to be all ears. We try to help people understand these new technologies like the batteries and like the USB charge, power delivery. That's one that people don't completely understand. Check our website, get to understand power delivery, because if you use your iPad or an EFB or even a laptop, and we can give you 120 watts in the aircraft, you need it, right? You need power. So.
Yeah, and I'll just add, with the TSO and all the testing that we do, what's great about our power products, our USB chargers and now our wireless chargers, is the TSO helps customers know there's not going to be any interference. Especially when you're charging wirelessly, customers ask, well, is this going to interfere with anything in the cockpit or any of the other systems? And so all the testing that our engineering department does to attain the TSO really helps put those fears at ease as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. But you guys are not a one-trick pony. What else did you bring me to play with? Come on.
Well, we do like pilots. We love pilots, and pilots
so
have
you
personal
should.
devices.
As a pilot,
of course.
This is the natural way of the universe.
We do.
I keep telling my wife the same thing.
Yeah. And so a lot of pilots are having issues. There's great opportunities to upgrade a panel. Sometimes it's a partial panel upgrade, right? You've got things and you're like, this is great, but I got a problem over here. And especially in today's world, but it's been coming, there are items that are obsolete. They become expensive to maintain, or you just can't get them, but you must have them in your aircraft. And so again, our engineers have been working on a project for quite some time and refining it, and we call it the flex gauge. And Van, you can give a little background on that as far as the history on flex when we revealed that.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been wanting to do digital gauges, you know, for as long as it's been in aviation. We had our SAM unit that came out several years ago, and that was kind of our first foray into the digital gauge market. And then we announced our custom flex product, this little guy, and I think you guys spoke about that on air last year. Mm-hmm. The feedback we got from customers was, wow, that's amazing. I can make that into almost any kind of instrument that I want. But what if I don't want to do a whole NRE project with you and the team? What if I just really only want an altimeter or really only want an airspeed? So what we announced this year is kind of the next step for Flex, which is our line of 2-inch instruments, which is encoding counter drum altimeter, an airspeed indicator, GPS clock, and our battery ACU that ties in with our lithium battery. So that allows us to be able to offer these to customers who maybe just need a one-off and don't want to go through the whole custom flex process, where a fleet operator might be willing to go the custom route for something they need.
Yeah, those are some of the common, you know, in our 60 years of supporting aircraft and pilots, we know those are some of the things that people need right now. But there are literally thousands of other potential designs for a pre-certified type of instrument to where we can help upgrade or replace existing products, whether they're digital, analog input, digital outputs.
I've got an idea for the greatest one of all time.
If you got the idea.
Netflix.
Well, that would be
Netflix,
one.
right?
Netflix.
There you go. Perfect.
We got to trademark that. Don't put it on air yet.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like
too late.
It's like the pilots are so. What are they worried about in the panel? Oh, it's Yellowstone.
Yeah,
there you go.
We took this to the helicopter show recently, and
oh man,
those guys really need torque indicators. You know, they want to know how much weight.
On top of that, the pedestal room. I mean, you were tighter cockpits, smaller instrumentation availability in terms of space. the pedestals are small, plus they're God only, over here, they're over there, they're up here, they're down there. Yeah, you can put this, a 2 1/4, you can put anywhere.
Yeah, and what's great about it is it's a data converter and a data combiner as well. So you really can kind of shrink your systems to get more in the panel by using Flex. It's not just a display head. It really is doing a lot behind the scenes.
Outstanding.
Almost like a microcomputer, with that display. And that's our certification process on this. So if you've had an idea for a whole new way to look at an airspeed and maybe combine it with something, we've already got all the inputs and everything ready to go, tested, certified, and you can come in and say, I want that information, but I want it displayed in this unique way. Then we get together and we can do an application. And then in that case, you own the application. So you can sell it to other people.
Well, the
share it
rotor
with other
community,
people.
trend data in particular, in some conditions, could be...
Definitely.
That's life and death, especially if you're in some high-stress environments.
Right. And data recording, and I'm going to say networking, right? So, having an isolated item, everybody's, if I could just get the data from that over here, or if I could use this and bring this in and then do a conversion and then send it over here, well, this little baby can do all those things. So the possibilities are immense. It would take hours to explain it. We've got great information on our websites for Mid-Continent Instrument Company. So, go out there and check it out if you want to find more information. And of course, too, at our company, you can actually talk to people on the phone. So you can use the website, but you can, call us up and have a conversation and discuss it with engineering, technical, or Van, and, start from there and go forward, too. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, you certainly filled up the MPI session very nicely, so every little bit helps. It was funny, the first question that comes after MPI is, well, anything new?
Right.
And, to me, there were a couple of highlights. I think Gogo 5G is going to take over a whole bunch of stuff, and that's pretty
a big
cool.
one.
But holy smokes, the limitless nature of Flex is very exciting. The display technology I'm seeing so far in the initial standard systems that you're building and so forth is very exciting. But what I can't wait to see is what Flex looks like next year. That's going to be the fun part. What's the next
there
generation?
may be quite a family, and people are going to have fun with it.
And just remember, when you come up with Netflix, it was my idea first.
Netflix,
Okay,
yep,
there you go.
you're on it.
I got to tell you. All righty. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. We are going to take a short break. James Hunter with ACR Electronics is on deck shortly. Craig Ledbetter from PS Engineering will be following us in just a few minutes after that, and that'll be done for the day. Keep in mind that we start again tomorrow at 12 noon through 3 o'clock, and at that point we, oh my goodness, load up the truck, head home, and have 2 days to get ready for Sun and Fun and insanity. Will we see you guys out there?
At you. Yep. Mid-Continent will be there.
We will be there.
Absolutely, with bells on.
Well, we look forward to seeing you there. We are the daily for Sun and Fun, so
Excellent.
we are their media partner. So, matter of fact, if you guys aren't doing anything one of the mornings, we have the morning brief live.
Okay.
And we do that at different places around, maybe in the Compass Rose, maybe over, we're doing it Tuesday with
That's
the
fun.
quote-unquote new TBM, which is as much as I'm allowed to say.
Cool.
NDA's this thick. So we'll have to get you on one of those mornings. We'll talk to you then.
Excellent.
So,
thank you.
Thanks for joining us, gentlemen. All right, folks, let's take a quick break. 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show live from New Orleans. We will be back in just a few minutes, and you get to watch some crass commercial messages and all that kind of good stuff. Go buy their stuff. Support A&N. Thank you. Be right back.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 65th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from New Orleans, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Hi, Devin Gall here, one of your True Blue Power field service engineers.
Hi, I'm Ryan Reed with True Blue Power.
Think about how much better your back is going to feel when lifting 40 pounds less up here when changing the battery out.
As a pilot that flies behind these batteries, walking up to your aircraft knowing your engine's going to start every time is unlike any other battery.
The ELT is just another tick on your pre-flight checklist, until you need it. Did you ever wonder what would happen if you had an engine failure over the mountains, marshland, or other dangerous terrain? Take to the skies confidently with the most reliable and highest performing ELTs and safety products on board that instantly mobilize life-saving search and rescue across the world. Read survivor stories from aviators and adventurers who survived life-threatening encounters thanks to ACR and Artex life-saving technology. Luck favors the prepared at survivorclub.com.
Vantage is Avidyne's family of all new flight display systems for retrofit and forward fit applications. Initial certification will be Vantage 12, retrofit glass for legacy Cirrus aircraft. Vantage 12 brings advanced capabilities and adds new life to Cirrus aircraft, including large 12-inch diagonal hybrid touchscreen displays, 3D synthetic vision, and split screen capabilities. Additional Vantage programs will be announced in the future.
Well, hello, fellow pilot. I'm John King.
And I'm Martha King.
You know, we've all had our flying lives disrupted lately.
Well, King Schools is here to help you stay up to date with courses that you can access on your desktop, iPad, or iPhone. If you'd like a refresher or just want to expand your aviation horizons, we have a course for you.
So head over to kingschools.com/Rusty today for details.
Alrighty, folks, we are back and we're getting down to the tail end of today's presentations. We are pleased to present James Hunter. We're going to be talking some really interesting, let's face it, survival technologies, for lack of a better way to put it, because in the long run, this is the guy you want to know really well when everything has gone oops. James, you headlined, or I shouldn't say headline, you were tail end Charlie on NPI yesterday.
Last but not least.
Very much not least. But the best part was there was 29 presentations, all of them pretty exciting, a couple of highs, a couple of lows, but you guys were very serious at presenting once again the fact that you've taken the state of the art and ELTs and the like and just pushed it as far as it will go for the present time. Tell me what's the latest and greatest.
So I have two products with me today.
Okay.
I have the ELT 5000, which is a distress tracking ELT, and our ELT 4000S, which is a survival ELT. The ELT DT was created in response to the MH370 disappearance back in 2014. When the aircraft went off radar, there was no trace of it whatsoever. At that time, ICAO decided they had to do something to make sure that it could start tracking aircraft in that similar situation. Out of that came the ELT DT. It's part of a larger system called GADS, which is a global aerospace distress and safety system, always a mouthful, GADS, which is an intent to be able to track aircraft. But how industry has responded is they've created a box that will replace the existing ELT with a distress tracking function.
And this is pretty much, just slap it. It's a step-in technology at this point.
So it's a little bit more complex. This is an active box. A traditional ELT does not work until after impact.
Right.
So it's passive. This is active. It works with autonomous distress trigger, an ADT, and the autonomous distress trigger is the brains of the operation. The ELT is just waiting for a trigger from that. So the ADT will monitor aircraft systems, and it'll monitor the aircraft trajectory, and if it believes that the continued course would end up in an accident, it will tell the ELT to switch on. And then you have the in-flight tracking of that before the end of the flight. And that's the primary difference between MH370 and what this technology will do.
Interesting. It's amazing in this day and age when you consider what we know around the world and the surveillance and so forth, that we could lose an airplane and lose
Right.
hundreds of people. And it cannot be allowed to happen again. As a pilot who's flown around the world and in some really weird spots, yeah, I could see some aircraft disappearing in some really bad areas, but an aircraft in scheduled service in an air traffic environment being monitored and disappearing,
Yes.
unbelievable. So this is the last step in the change of
Yes.
preventing and saying not one more.
This is certainly technology that is coming at the right time.
Outstanding.
I've been in the ELT business for over 20 years, and I have to admit that 20 years ago, I thought ELTs would have been long gone, but it's taken time to move the industry to this point. So right now, the mandate for this is Jan 1, 2023, and it's
coming quick.
Yes, very quick. It's commercial aircraft at this time, although there is some business jet operators looking to equip their own aircraft. And also, this box also has full lithium containment.
Okay.
So that's another important aspect. Last few years, there's been we've had trouble getting aircraft certified with lithium ELTs, which was the reason for the product we discussed last year, which is ELT 4000, which uses alkaline. But for us to maintain, to reach the temperatures and the performance, we need to go back to lithium. And this is full containment.
Interesting. So what's the operational capability? How long will you be able to track this in the event of an event?
Yes, so 24 hours is the traditional ELT time. So up to 24 hours, there's different aspects about tracking. It's usually the end of flight, to the end of the flight, and once that end of flight occurs, the ELT will kick in and work for the remainder of the battery life, depending on how long it's been tracked for. The important thing is it's tamper-proof, so the pilots can't pull any breakers or switch anything off, and it can only be reset by the same method it was set off. So if it was set off manually, it can be reset. But if the trigger sets off the ELT, only the trigger can reset it.
But the data is still continuous, isn't it?
So if the flight path trajectory changes back to one that's normal, the trigger can switch it back, reset the ELT.
There you go. Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
That's a heck of a box.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And as I understand it, you've got some of the big names already in your corner.
Boeing, Embraer so far. We're talking with other OEMs. Originally, we thought it would only be commercial carriers, but we're talking to several business jet manufacturers, who think that some of their jets may fall into that same category, Part 135 operators. So they're looking at it too.
Now, some of the major companies that are carrying the CEOs and people who are high value and literally critical to the future of the company, they've got to take every chance they can to make sure they understand where their people are and what's happened to them.
Exactly.
So that makes perfect sense.
Yes.
So I imagine you guys are talking to the Gulfstreams and the Bombardiers of this world and having fun conversations.
Yes, always.
There you go.
Yes.
Outstanding. Talk to me about the 4000 series. This thing
So-
really interests me.
So this is our 4000S survival ELT.
Mikkel had talked to me about this a little bit some weeks ago, and it was pretty intriguing. Fill me in.
Yeah, so survival ELTs are complementary to these automatic fixed ELTs.
Okay.
Automatic ELTs find the location of a crash, whereas survival ELTs find survivors. So this is cabin mounted, and the intent, if an aircraft ditches, for example, survivors can take this outside. It's water activated. They can immerse it. It will float and activate. It has water sensors and will activate.
Okay.
And the antenna can be deployed. So what's exciting about this is we've went away from lithium batteries again.
Okay.
This is using the alkaline cells that were similar to the ELT 4000. Right now, there's legacy ELTs, survival ELTs that are being obsoleted, and we think this is the perfect time for this product to make an impact in the market. We're currently working with Boeing. We should be certified with Boeing in a matter of weeks. We should have TSO certification this month, and we're just ready to start taking orders and selling ELTs.
My goodness. And what kind of target market do we have there?
So again, this is commercial airlines.
Okay.
Most commercial aircraft are required to have an automatic fixed and at least one survival.
Okay.
So it's the same market.
Interesting. Well, that's an intriguing looking device. So airplane comes to some type of negative event, you've got somebody who has survived and is trying to get attention.
Yes.
How do they deploy this? What is their first step?
So this float will float.
Okay.
So it floats in water. Traditionally, ELTs are water sensors.
Mhm.
So if you just immerse it in water, it will start activating. But there's also an on-off switch that can be manually activated if you're on land, for example.
Okay.
But traditionally, these were for ditching events.
Okay. Is there any kind of lighting or any kind of alert on it that would allow somebody who's in some distress to be able to find it and see where it is?
So the location, it has a built-in GPS.
Gotcha.
So the transmission will send the GPS coordinates.
Right. But there's no nothing on there to notify a survivor where it is or what it's doing?
So there's lights that will come on when it's activating. There's
Gotcha.
LEDs.
That's what I was asking.
So
Okay,
LEDs
perfect.
for activation, LEDs for self-testing.
Okay. And then just pull the tab and the antenna pops
Yes.
up and off you go.
Yeah, that's correct.
Interesting. Well, that's an interesting piece of technology. At some point, I'm going to have to give you a call and try to get some imagery of inside, because I'd be curious to see how something like that is put together. Now, the current scenario in which an ELT operates and the frequencies and the monitoring and so forth have been upgraded significantly over the years, especially with the intervention by KO and UN and so forth and so on. Is everything up to the task right now? Or?
Yes, so there's actually a new satellite system, MEOSAR constellation, which is now, currently we're using geostationary satellites and low Earth orbit satellites. So if an ELT is activated, the geostationary satellite will see the signal and wait for confirmation from a low Earth orbit satellite to get position. But we have a new constellation now, which is MEOSAR, which is in between the two, and you have more satellites looking at the place on Earth, so we have almost instantaneous position. You don't have to wait for those additional passes from a LEOSAR. So it does send the GPS coordinates, but if for some reason they're not sending coordinates, there's still immediate location of the device. And that's the latest in the,
fascinating.
Evolution of the
That's
system.
fascinating. I'd love to follow up with you and Mikkel sometime in the future and get a little bit more info on how they're installed, where they're installed, and some of the operational data. It'd be interesting to see how that's all put together. Now, of course, we cannot ignore the fact that you folks have made significant inroads in business and commercial aviation, and especially since you also have on the recreational boating side, but also particularly interesting to me, to GA, is your EPIRB technologies.
Right.
And in this day and age, I can tell you as a helicopter operator, as somebody who's done pipeline patrol, maybe out in the boonies, and this, that, and the other, the concept of having something that literally fits in your pocket and you can walk out from wherever and have somebody know that you're going from A to B or where you are is particularly important.
Yes.
Any news on those fronts at all?
So what we're talking about is our personal locator beacons,
Yes.
which are handheld devices. So they're all rescue beacons. They all fit into the same package. ELTs for aircraft, EPIRBs for for marine applications, and PLBs for people.
Right.
So the handhelds, they be used for anything, as you say, any outdoor activity. It's manually activated, and it works the same way. It will send the GPS coordinates and help you locate. It's cheap insurance. Everyone should have one.
There you go. Well, it's not like, it's been amazing to watch the growth of this market, the technology involved, and more important, just how you've decided to tackle it. It's been fun to see. Where will we see the next developments? What does the future look like for your company?
So this is really the big development at the moment, is the DT, getting this certified and getting into the system. As I say, Jan 1, 2023 is our deadline. Hopefully it won't get pushed. There's some discussion about moving that date, but it's 2023 right now.
Okay.
And we just look forward to getting ELT 4000, getting it our first customers and getting it installed.
Interesting stuff. All right, and where can people get more information on all this?
They can go to our website. It's acrartex.com.
Very good. James, as always, fun to talk to you. This time for real. Last time we talked to you was a Zoom call in.
Pandemic era.
Oh man, I'm ready to be past all that, aren't you?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm already past it.
Okay, folks, we've got one more victim on deck. We're ready to go here toward the end of today's coverage of AEA 2022. Thank you to James Hunter again on all things ELT, especially when it comes to the higher end commercial market. Boeing and Embraer, huh?
Yep.
So I hope
far.
Airbus is listening.
Yes.
We shall see. we'll give it the Airbus. Folks,
happy to talk to them.
We'll be back in just a few moments. This is AEA 65th Annual Convention and Trade Show. We'll be back in just a few moments live from the convention floor here in New Orleans. Be right back. Alrighty, folks, guess what? You are incredibly fortunate because this is tail end Charlie. We are done with almost 3 hours of programming, but before we start, I have been informed that a momentous occasion is in the offing here. To PS Engineering's Mark Scheuer, happy birthday, guy. 29 again, huh? Yeah, okay. At any rate, I'm enjoying just this amazing opportunity to see what everybody's been up to. Yesterday, we had 29 companies pop up with the latest and greatest and new technologies, things that have the potential to transform aviation in bits and pieces, and collectively, we are a better industry for it. I am pleased to represent the AEA community through our live presentations and what we've done now for 14 years. And here's Craig Ledbetter of PS Engineering with a great title, get this one, Special Missions Audio Specialist. Must get the girls every time, just incredible. Craig, tell us what's latest and greatest in special missions audio gear.
Right. So
because you're the specialist after all.
I'm the specialist in it, that's for sure. So back in 2017, we came out with our Pack 45 series. It was a new venture into this market. We had never developed a system that would do more than 3 comms for an audio system, but we saw a need in the market, and we really were excited about come out with the product. So the Pack 45 was actually introduced at AEA in 2017, which supported 6 comms, 4 nav inputs, and one thing that we made it was plug and play with the existing NAT AMS 43. It was important for us that if there was an existing footprint in the market to be able to go in and have a system that would be plug and play. So we've done it in the GA market with our PMA 8000 and PMA 450 series to replace the Garmin GMA 340. So it was actually important for us to do the same thing for the special mission market.
Interesting. I wish I'd had that. I did a bit of a sojourn for ATF in Georgia.
Right.
Back in the Porter days. See that little ramp there? Land on it. Go get that guy. Huh? What? Okay. I mean, we had walkie-talkies, we had this, we had that, so forth. It was a hodgepodge of how to communicate with this agency, that agency. Oh, no, you got to call DEA on this. No, you want the state troopers, you want this, you want that.
Absolutely.
And you're working a whole bunch at the same time.
Yeah.
So this is manna from heaven to the guy who's got to
make
sure that he's talking to everybody and keep his butt out of harm's way.
It really is. We have learned a lot over the last 5-6 years about the special mission market and how the products are being used. It's mainly law enforcement, EMS, and forestry. There's other division departments that use the systems too, but those are the main three. And a lot of these aircraft that we're going in are contract aircraft, so they're being used seasonally, for different things. And so for us, it was important that this year Gary introduced during our MPI the configuration of the hub. We wanted to be able to allow the installers to go in and change the configuration without having to pull out laptops, without having to pull out computers and plug into the system. So we've added a series of dip switches on the side of the box so the installer can configure the box however it needs for the mission.
You must be learning an incredible amount from the special missions community, because let's face it, the special missions folks are bashful and shy and don't really talk much. Yeah, no.
Not what I say,
yeah. What kind of feedback are you getting right now about these kind of capabilities, and how is it developing the future of this unit?
Right, so the main thing we wanted to do is make it, let's say configuration friendly, but also installation friendly. The legacy systems that are out there, they were all pretty much analog, so it required a ton of wiring. You had to parallel from one system to the next system. That adds weight, that adds cost, that adds labor to the whole installation. So it was important for us when we came out with a digital system that it was easy to install for the avionics shops and easy to be configured. Have we learned a lot? We sure have. They give great feedback from all of our avionics shops and completion centers over the last few years, and being such a dynamic company, we were able to come up and be able to add these functions that they need for the missions.
What has surprised you so far?
I think everybody has a little bit different concept for the configuration of the labeling, how all the inputs and outputs are named. In
special
general,
missions people with opinions?
Yeah, they do.
I mean, seriously.
And everything from UHF to VHF, FM1, TAC1, and they have different names for different inputs and outputs for the aircraft. So, which is great because we have customized labeling that we can do for our decals, which makes it easy for the customer to change it from one mission to the next if need be. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's the future? Where does this go from here?
Right. So we got some things in the cooking. So I can't share it with you right now, but we're always, PS Engineering is always trying to come out and be innovative in products, not just to add features to the system, but add safety prompts and makes the product even better. So we always continuously improving it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. As of last year, we introduced the PAC 45L for the jet market, so that came out and that's been very successful so far too.
Where are you seeing those kind of installations?
In replacing the existing Baker systems in the aircraft, where they're not able to get the old audio systems repaired or replaced. We're seeing more of that. We've also partnered with a couple of companies on some STC projects.
I found that the shops that are capable of working with the variety of inputs on special missions work and so forth are few and far between. How are you training the shops, or for that matter, training the operators to work with the shops in order to get the best possible result? Because if you don't get the best possible result, device notwithstanding, you look like blank.
Correct. Well, you'll be amazed how intelligent and how much experience a lot of these shops have. They pretty much know how audio systems work and what requirements, whether the radio is low impedance or high impedance, and what any kind of adapters they may need. And that's kind of where I come in as their audio specialist, is I help them configure the whole installation from the beginning to the end. They're never left alone on it. I actually recommend what avionics I think they need, or the installation part of it, of the aircraft. So. That's the good thing about it. Sometimes, you deal with other manufacturers and you're having to guess what hardware you need. I help configure that for them.
Any favorite installations or programs?
Oh gosh, there's so many out there. You know, what's nice about this box, it's really, I kind of thought it'd be more of a rotor wing type of product, but it's really about 50-50 in rotor wing and fixed wing. So yeah.
That surprises me.
You know, the forestry market and the aero commanders that are out there, I was stunned how many aero commanders are being used for forestry, but this has been...
When the apocalypse comes, so most of us are leaving by Twin Commander, I'm telling you.
Correct. So.
Eek.
So that's been really nice to see that. I mean, I was kind of really surprised how many fixed wings are actually using our products for special missions.
I'll be darned.
Yep.
Isn't that interesting? Now, I assume most of these are various government organizations. What about the military market itself?
Right now, we're not pursuing any kind of military contracts or anything. Now, we've had a few people ask, you know, it may be used for military applications, but no, we're pretty much staying with the special mission, the GA stuff.
Well, it's amazing and it's funny, PS Engineering, not the biggest company out there.
No, 20 employees.
Yeah, but it's amazing what you guys have done over the years, because, you know, I've talked to Mark off and on for many years, and, you know, watched some of the very basic designs for audio panels and this and that, and the next thing you know, I'm able to use my cell phone on them, and this, that, and the other, and they've got auto this and press the button for that.
Multi-talker, 3D.
What this little company has done has been extraordinary over the long term, and even better in certain short-term projects. So it's fun to watch. Anything else happening on other fronts with PS Engineering we need to know about?
To what you just said, we have great leadership. You know, Mark has done just an amazing job of running PS Engineering. We have a strong core staff of people like Gary. He's been here 25 years. I've been here 30 years. We have other employees been here 25, 30 years. So we've had a really great team over the years that's allowed us to grow to what we are. So we're constantly designing and brainstorming about new projects and new ideas that's coming out. So definitely there's more stuff to come from PS Engineering.
I would hope so. It's been fun to watch, especially once you started getting out of your initial comfort zone with the GA and experimental markets and working your way out from there. It's been fun to watch. I imagine, though, that had to be a tough decision for a company that had just a nice, safe niche to work outside of its comfort zone.
Well, not really. I mean, I think what started this project, we were having companies come to us and asking, hey, we're needing something like this. So it kind of got the wheels of motion moving for us. And so, no, it was kind of, we just kind of scratched it on a piece of paper and went from there. And then from there, it's grown from the PAC 45 series to PAC 45A, which supports 4 control heads. We also have a PAC 45J, which is a little bit taller control head with more inputs and outputs. And into last year's AEA new product introduction, the PAC 45L. So it's going really well.
Where can people get more information, especially those in the special missions community who have, you know, some ancient boat anchor and want to get rid of the boat anchor?
Right. Well, right now I'm having a training class tomorrow morning. I'm in room 280. So I will be talking about audio configuration, which will include both general aviation and also special mission. But you also can go to our website, ps-engineering.com, and get more information, or just call the factory.
Very good. Craig, we sure appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing what comes next, and next year's NPI I'm sure will be fascinating as well. And once again, happy birthday, Mark. 29, huh? Okay, we're going to keep beating that one to death. All right, folks, tell you what, this is the end of a long day. We have done, I don't know, 8, 10 interviews in a row, had amazing people who are doing extraordinary things to push aviation forward. We'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon till 3 o'clock, and then we get to head home and have 2 whole days to prepare for Sun and Fun before we've got to be down there. And for those of you who may not be aware, we are Sun and Fun's media partner. We produce the daily. We will be producing the morning brief live at 0900 at airborne-live.net. Among many other things throughout the week, we've got a lot of plans, a lot of stories, a lot of videos. So there's quite a bit happening in that particular period of time. Until tomorrow, I'd like to thank our group. Of course, first of all, Nathan Cremasino, who runs video. He is the god of the video universe. And our 2 amazing videographers keeping an eye on things, Annie Byers and Holland Lee. And of course, my wife, Masako, who organizes everything and kicks me in the keister as necessary to get from one place to the other, and has so far managed to corral every guest on time, so far without the use of a stun gun. So we're really pleased with that part of it. 12 noon tomorrow, airborne-live.net. We've got a heck of a roster for you. We look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, we are at the 65th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Ernest Morial Convention Center. We will see you tomorrow at 12 noon, and we are out of here.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 65th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from New Orleans, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Vantage is Avidyne's family of all-new flight display systems for retrofit and forward-fit applications. Initial certification will be Vantage 12, retrofit glass for legacy Cirrus aircraft. Vantage 12 brings advanced capabilities and adds new life to Cirrus aircraft, including large 12-inch diagonal hybrid touchscreen displays, 3D synthetic vision, and split-screen capabilities. Additional Vantage programs will be announced in the future.
The ELT is just another tick on your pre-flight checklist, until you need it. Did you ever wonder what would happen if you had an engine failure over the mountains, marshland, or other dangerous terrain? Take to the skies confidently with the most reliable and highest performing ELTs and safety products on board that instantly mobilize life-saving search and rescue across the world. Read survivor stories from aviators and adventurers who survived life-threatening encounters thanks to ACR and Artex life-saving technology. Luck favors the prepared at survivorclub.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I please have your attention?
Pilot Communications USA is proud to introduce our latest headsets, the Carbon A1 Active Noise Reduction and the Carbon P1 Passive Headset. Carbon fiber makes our headsets 30% lighter than others, which significantly reduces pilot fatigue. Our BlueLink hand control unit allows you to connect two devices at the same time, and the record out capability can send audio to an onboard camera or digital recorder. Get the headset that's so light you may forget you're wearing one at pilot-usa.com.
At Diamond Aircraft, innovation is in our DNA.
Whether you're taking to the skies for training or business travel, every aircraft in Diamond's lineup features innovative technology, an industry-leading safety record, superior performance and efficiency, and a comfortable flying experience. No other company has pioneered as many aviation firsts, achieved more milestones, or received the same amount of industry praise as Diamond. Discover why Diamond Aircraft is one of the most trusted manufacturers in aviation at diamondaircraft.com.
Aviation Safety Resources is disrupting the market for aircraft emergency parachute recovery systems. ASR systems are smaller, lighter weight, and offer longer repack cycles than similar products available in the current market. ASR has a recovery system available for every type of aircraft: sport, experimental, light sport, general aviation, urban air mobility, vertical takeoff and landing, electric propulsion, and unmanned aerial systems. Find the right product for your aircraft at aviationsafetyresources.com.